Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
I can hear it.
Welcome, everyone, to Hartford Municipal Airport in beautiful Hartford, Wisconsin. We're just south of the world's largest aviation celebration this weekend, and pilots that have flown from all over the world to Oshkosh are stopping here amongst the Wisconsin corn to compete in National STOL yet again. It's time for Sodbusters. Runway 1836 is 2,231 feet of arguably one of the most beautiful grass strips the circuit will visit this year. Let's meet some of the pilots competing this weekend. CC Pocock.
Welcome back.
Hal Stockton.
I pitched my slats.
Yeah.
I just put that cuff on. Yeah, I put a 50 horse nitrous shot on mine too.
You got a 50. Okay, I'm running just over 100.
There you go.
Micah Lindstrom has been talking some smack. He's been flying really well, and I've been giving it everything I got, and I've just fallen short. Truth is Micah, the Dirty Bird is back. I got horsepower. I got lots of horsepower. Now, I'm coming for you. And the wing X, I got that figured out. So, Micah, I'm sorry. I just want to ask you, how does that second, third, fourth place taste, buddy? I'm just curious. I've never had one of those. Tell me.
We did a few mods for this competition, and we're going to try them out. And 205, we've been putting some hours on it. Put about 5,000 miles on it already this year, flying all over the country.
.31-inch Alaska bush wheels, a new mod. Put the Acme Stinger in the tail, and maybe this winter we might do some 3x3 extended gear and put some Behringer brakes on it, so be a little more competitive.
The line is painted, the pattern is clear. It's time for National STOL at Sodbusters. That's right, everyone. It's time for National STOL at Sodbusters. I am your host today, Ryan Dombrowski, and what a beautiful day. What a beautiful day we have here in Hartford for some practice. It's going to be a good one. We've got a lot of the heavy hitters that you've seen all over the National STOL circuit. They're all congregating here in Hartford. We're just south of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which, if you don't know, is home to one of the world's largest and greatest aviation celebrations, and that kicks off in just a few days. So people stop here in Hartford and they go up there right afterwards, and we are blessed to have all these amazing STOL pilots operating in front of us. I've got Hal Stockman in Lawn Mower 3. Got that Rotax buzzing away just in front of me now. Steve Henry was kicking it up a notch in practice a little bit ago, and CC Pocock rolling up to the line there for practice as well. So things are kicking up here in Hartford. Tomorrow proving to be an exciting day of competition in Hartford, and we are excited to get it going. Before we get started, I just want to say hi to everyone in the crowd here in Hartford, Wisconsin for Sodbusters. We appreciate you coming out for practice. We also want to say thank you to all the folks, the volunteers here in Hartford at Hotel X-Ray Foxtrot on your sectional for helping make this possible. Here's CC Pocock now coming up to the line for practice. And if you are viewing this online at home, maybe you're not going to be able to make the trip to Hartford or Oshkosh this year, be sure to say hello in the chat. Want to make sure to say hello to us. If you have any questions about STOL, I'll try to answer them as we do this practice session. And I'm excited to say that we're going to have a few guests join me on the mic today, and as well as tomorrow. It's going to be just an overall fantastic weekend of aviation, which kicks off a whole nother week of aviation. You can see the line there. We've got one of our media crew, Reese, crossing the line there. That's where it all goes down, and I'll explain a little bit about how STOL works if you're new here in just a second. But first, I want to wax poetic a bit Because this very runway right in front of us is the runway that I soloed when I was a student pilot. It's where I got my first solo. It's where I learned to fly 1836 here in Hartford, Wisconsin. Did it in a J3 Cub. And man, you could not ask for a better airport for some good old-fashioned barnstorming, backcountry inspired flying. The turf is just sublime. So let's talk a little bit about how National STOL works. It's your spot landing contest at your home airport turned up to 11, maybe 12. Turned up high. Got that beautiful mall coming in. Coming in a little hot there. Let's talk about how this works. We get an airplane to help us describe it. So basically, I think it's CC Pocock now on short final there. We'll confirm in a second. Basically, it all revolves around that big white line. The way we score this event is airplanes will taxi up to the line, put their main wheels on the line, and then they will take off as short as possible, and the judges will measure the distance between that line. Oh, here's CC hanging it on that prop. You're going to drop it in? Nope. Cushioning it. Gave up about 65 feet maybe. Just a masterclass, though, on aircraft control when you watch CC fly. So as I was saying, taxi up to the line, take off. The line judges run to where the aircraft's main wheels left the ground, and that's our starting distance, our takeoff distance. They'll go around in the pattern and land as close to that line as possible without landing before it. So when they land before it, it's called a scratch. That means that run does not count. If they land after it, what we do is we take the distance from that line all the way to where the main wheels stop. Measure that distance. Add those two distances together, and that's your composite score for the round. After that, it's just like golf. Just want to get the lowest score possible. To make things a little more fair and a little more exciting, all the aircraft are grouped into classes based on weight and aircraft performance. And we'll walk you through some of that more tomorrow when you see them compete in competition. So something like Steve Henry's, I'm giving a little hint about who's going to be joining me on the mic in a second. Steve Henry's aircraft is not necessarily, it's not a fair fight against CC Pocock's 170 there you see taxiing up to the line. So that's why they're grouped into classes. We'll walk you through those classes as we get going. Here is, looks like some form of Highlander race 50. We'll look that up, but let's look at the weather. It's dry. It's a little humid. Wind 7 knots from 280, so got a little bit of crosswind action going on. So there went CC, and I got to say hello to a friend of mine on the mic. Mr. Josh Richling is here.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you, Mr. Dombrowski.
That's the first time anyone has ever said that, but thank you for that.
No problem, Mr. Dombrowski.
So, in case people don't know, you're a legend in your own right. Writer for Flying Magazine, crew chief for Wild West Aircraft. Does that sum it up?
keep going. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, yeah, that's great. No, if as far as aircraft go, yeah, that's that about sums it up. There's a few other workings in the background that in time we'll release to the public. But yeah, no, absolutely, and thank you for.
Wait, are you teasing something right now?
I am, but I'd rather talk about this beautiful Highlander that just came in. Look at that. He built it himself, running the Yamaha engine, which is non-turbocharged or only non-aspirated, nor naturally aspirated engine in the field for Yamaha.
No kidding.
It is surprising. Yeah, you'll hear that sound a little bit different there. So, yeah. All right, we're just figuring all this funky stuff out. I'm figuring out all this computer stuff all in front of me. Got all this fancy information. I don't know what to do with all this stuff. No, but thank you very much. Just covering STOL and STOL Drag for Flying Magazine as a contributor, and crew chiefing for Steve Henry at Wild West Aircraft, helping build the better Highlanders, adding all the cool stuff to make the thing perform the way that it does, that Steve Henry does, and offering that stuff to the public so that everybody can have the same thing he has, offers it out there because he wants people to join this sport, do better at this sport, and come out and compete with us.
There's Cece now, just kind of dropping it in. And we noticed him kind of dialing it in over practice. I think the first time he gave up about 60 feet, maybe he gave up about 40 feet that time. Being just super, he's aggressive.
He is aggressive. He always rides it, takes it right to the line. You'll see that he probably scratches more than some other guys. It's because everybody else is being a little bit conservative, and he just hangs it all out there. Like, this is what we need to do. Let's see if we can do it. And it's a real joy to watch him fly. What an impressive resume he has as well in background. Normally you don't like to see those steep climb outs from pilots, but he's doing that here because that's what he teaches, that's what he knows, and we just want to make sure that younger pilots, newer pilots, and especially people in the rookie class don't do that yet. That takes a lot of experience to safely do what he's doing, and he does offer that training to people there at Bush Air and bring people to his level. And there's quite a few pilots within this field who have also taken his class as well. They may not scratch as much as he does, but they're not hanging it all out like he is either.
Yeah, he gives it a real big, hard go every time. You really see him. He knows that aircraft in a way that most people don't know their aircraft.
That is true. I've actually sat through one of his lectures at Oshkosh, and boy, I was just learning things left and right. And basically everything that I was told not to do by my original flight instructor who's telling you to be safe, he's saying, well, let's show you what the plane's really capable of, and learning all kinds of new things about your plane. And you're going to have to go out there and do that with a flight instructor or a safety pilot of some sort. And I just saw this new 170 entering the field here. Is that 134 got the bump cowl over on the side? Do you know what that is in that bump cowl? That's those bigger 360 motors, is it not?
You could say anything and I would agree with you.
Absolutely. It's a good thing that nobody on the broadcast would ever actually text in and tell us that we're wrong, because that would be devastating. Because it would be devastating
to both of
us. It would
really,
it would slow down this whole process. But
I'm looking to see who that is. I want to see 257 Delta Romeo. Looking at my little cheat sheet here. So that's Dennis Rowe. Dennis Rowe in the 2020 Just Highlander. And 56-year-old proud grandpa, he says.
He is just a great guy, a bundle of joy, a bundle of laughter, always smiling, loves airplanes, built that aircraft there. And I think he's also, maybe he has something to do with, I'm going to have to look into this. He has something to do with aircraft, with Highlanders and assisting in building with other folks as well, I believe. Just did a great job overall in that plane. And happy to be out here seeing him make that Yamaha do what it does. I think him and Brian Bowen are the guys out there in competition right now that are bringing that naturally aspirated Yamaha to competition to show what it can do. It is definitely a different class of engine compared to those that are, turbocharged. But he's using the original Apex, the 4-cylinder, that, originally was never meant to be turbocharged in any way. And, we used to use that and then turbocharged it and now moved on to the Sidewinder. But, just a wonderful, wonderful engine. It sounds fantastic, I think. I love the sound of it.
It does sound good.
Yeah, and it's kind of quiet. His is definitely much quieter than Steve Henry's was with his turbocharge on it. But just a great sounding engine, and Skytrack's building the gearbox to make that thing work, and it just really, really works well. So I enjoy seeing that.
You know what I enjoy seeing? I'm going to switch the subject here. It said, good evening from somewhere in the UK. Someone's watching from the UK. I missed it on the screen there.
What?
But thank you to whoever it is staying up late in the good old greatest of Britons. We appreciate you. There it is.
There it is.
From Berwick upon Tweed.
Oh,
Ray
right.
Powell.
Ray
Thank you,
Powell.
Ray, for watching. We really appreciate it. Here's that 170 again.
Yeah.
A little bit of a scratch there.
Came in a little bit short. Sometimes, I was talking to Steve Henry just a few moments ago when he was saying that the wind is just dropping out. He dropped a wing just a little bit ago, went full power and went around. And with that powerful Yamaha, able to just pick it back up and go. Lesser powered engines may not be able to do that. So kind of in for a little bit of unstable flying on the approach right now. And it doesn't seem like it should be. However, when you look at the flags on the field, they're blowing from left to right. But when you look at the sock behind us, it's blowing from right to left. So kind of a weird thing going on as Dennis Rowe gets really hard on those brakes and raises the tail on that number 50 Highlander, bringing that in.
Yeah, and he had to let go of those brakes pretty quickly, but he got it under control. Eric, this is
K34 in this. I believe that's a 170 Bravo. I could be mistaken, but I do believe there's an engine mod done to it, particularly in that paint job doesn't go over the little bump that's been added to the cowling for the valve cover in that engine. I'd like to learn more about that. We'll be visiting him during the break and getting more information on it. Maybe you have that on your screen there.
Yeah, so that's Tony Effenberger in that 170 Bravo, the blue over white from Mankato, Minnesota. And he is running a 195 horsepower IO370. Does that explain what
that
you're talking about?
That absolutely does.
IO370, 83-inch Hartzell Trailblazer prop, Sportsman STOL, VGs, all the way from Mankato, Minnesota.
Awesome. And now we've got this Yamaha parked right in front of us. We get to hear that thing really purr right there. Looks like he's running the full exhaust on it, which is really cool, probably off of one of the motorcycles, like the R1 motorcycle, which is basically the same engine as the snowmobile version without the gearbox. And look who's entered the field here with us.
Suddenly a wild Micah appeared, I think.
Yeah, Micah Lindstrom has just arrived. Fantastic. Jeff Pohl's probably sitting out there in the parking lot going, darn it, I was hoping he wouldn't show up. But I think that he's got something up his sleeve for him, and it's not going to let him get away like he did last time with him.
He was, if you were here at the beginning of the broadcast, Jeff Pohl talking a lot of smack.
What is he?
Talking a lot of smack about Micah. He said, I don't know if Micah knows what it's like to be in first place. Well, the little joke is that Micah learned a lot about being in first place at Skull Stole just a few weeks ago. But no, it's great to see Jeff maintain that competitive spirit. And Micah, man, he's giving him a run for his money.
He absolutely is. Like I've always said, it doesn't matter if you have, the best pilot in the world in a particular event. When you got two guys that are so closely matched, or two ladies in the case of some of the other events, it's just really neat to see them just being so closely matched.
We got to talk about this Husky. That's piloted by Finn Bourne, 2003 Aviat aircraft Husky. I love the blue, white, and red from Middleton, Wisconsin. So just a local person coming in to compete, and been flying just for over 2 years and already competing in National STOL. So that's really great to see.
That is fantastic. And it is a neat paint scheme there for that Aviat Husky. Now, is that the A1A? I get them all mixed up. We got all these different models.
A1 Bravo.
A1 Bravo, the Bravo in there. Okay. Outstanding. I couldn't tell you what the difference is.
Throw a little Bravo in there.
Yeah, I've got a lot to learn, So he's only been flying, you said, 2 years. That's great.
I've been flying for just over 2 years and have owned the Husky since 2022.
Awesome. So you got kind of started off in tail wheels early, which is really good. That is, and it's actually a pretty plane too. So I wonder what he uses that for.
Well, it says right here, newly certified CFI.
Oh, how
so
about
that's pretty
that?
exciting too.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can get lessons in the Husky with him because it is a certified aircraft.
You know, Finn, if you want to give me a ride to rock the ramp tonight, when you're watching this later, Finn, I can see him on downwind right now. Take me to rock the ramp and give me a lesson.
Gosh, you beat me to that. You really,
Yeah.
I can't even. You really got that in there. Nice. You just slid
just
that.
like
Nice.
snuck it. Right,
You did.
right in
You
there.
did. You did. Thank you. Thank you. Well, Finn, I think your plane's beautiful, and Finn, I think you're beautiful, and I'll let you make the choice on which one you want to take up there to rock the ramp there in that pretty Husky. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be all you. I'm working. I'm all working.
You got to work. You got to work.
Yeah.
So, one of the stories that we've seen this year, certainly we saw it at STOL, and that was an event that you guys weren't able to make. You can't make every event. That's part of the way the series works. Not everyone can make every event. One of the stories that we saw was this story of modifications. I've never seen it before as aggressively as this season for National STOL. People are modifying their aircraft mid-season to try to get a competitive edge against each other. And what was interesting about STOL, we talk about Micah and Jeff Pohl. Jeff added those wingtips.
Yes.
You were on the broadcast with us remotely, and
Yes.
we were talking about this then as well. Those wingtip extensions for Jeff, that he's basically, I don't know if I'm being too dramatic in saying he's basically flying a brand new airplane at that point.
I
And he's
think
having
you're right.
to test fly it and work it. And it was actually working against Jeff a little bit, I think, because the conditions were very challenging. I would actually say quite similar to today.
Yep. Yeah. And like Steve, running wing extensions today, if you get a little bit of turbulence, those wing extensions really work against you because as the wings become more sluggish. The ailerons don't work quite as well because on these wing extensions, the ailerons don't go out to the end of the wing and it reacts differently. And you're absolutely right. It's like flying a different airplane and you get a lot of time into it. And fortunately with Steve, you were able to bring those wings, change those wing tips out within a few minutes. Whereas once Jeff's done it, it's a full commitment. They're on there to stay. So he's got to completely learn that plane, and that's the way it's going to be flying from now on. But you're absolutely right. It's learning something new.
And so we've seen that with Warren Grobelar, new, bigger engine. He was talking at STOL about, I got a lot of weight on the nose now. That's something he needed to adjust to. And I noticed in our little pre-run package, we have a lot of folks running nitrous.
Yes.
Now.
Nitrous is getting really popular.
Everyone's running nitrous. You heard on the package, Al Stockman's like, I got 50 horsepower burst there. And then CC Pocock's like, I got 100 horsepower. So everyone's running nitrous apparently. And that's exciting to see. That's kind of fun to see. So.
Yeah, and please don't let that discourage you pilots out there who are thinking of doing this. You do not have to run nitrous. These like when he says everyone, we're talking about those really, really competitive guys who are really up in the top of their class, and they're really trying to get that edge over the next guy. But you can definitely come out here, win. It's been done on a brand new, stock airplanes. We've seen that happen as well. And you don't have to have it, but if you're going to get to the top in some of these classes, and it's kind of more bragging rights between the guys. You're absolutely right. Going back a little bit, adding the things that add to the modifications of the plane. You got Brian Steck with the beta, who was trying to learn that beta as well. So you see beta coming and going, and sure. I don't know if Hal has beta right now. He does have that ability to run it if he wanted, if the conditions presented themselves to do it. But a lot of these guys are running both STOL and STOL drag and ARC and STOL, which would be considered a version of STOL cross, I guess you would call it. Sure. And with that, you use different techniques and different advantages at different times. Sometimes they don't help, as Jeff Pohl found out last week.
Well, I want to go back and talk about one of the things you mentioned. You mentioned the word beta. And so for folks who might be new to aviation, what we're talking about there is the ability to reverse the thrust of the propeller so that you can actually be pushing air the opposite way to assist you in braking. That's something that it happens on jet aircraft, right? There's thrust reversers and things like that. But it's pretty much more common in seaplanes, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
And so that's making its way into STOL now. The first person I believe that I've seen really make a splash. That's a little callback to the seaplane
like that.
thing.
Nailed it.
The first person that we saw do that was Austin Clemens.
Austin
in his Husky
Clemens, yep.
seaplane, because of STC for seaplane, for float plane use. And so he could put in reverse thrust. And what would happen with that, and I talked to him about it, because everyone's like, oh, it's a silver bullet. It's a silver bullet. He can always win. The pilot workload, so high.
You're absolutely right. It is not an easy thing to do because of the RPMs having to be at a certain location. And if you miss it, it gets really worse. It's like pulling early on a takeoff. You can pull a half a second early, which will gain you 4 seconds on the ground. So it can really, really work against you and backfire if you don't nail it right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about every appendage doing something at the same time on landing. Now you're adding a gate, basically, of RPM gate you need to get below to hit a button and then apply throttle and hope that it works.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're going to be extending your distance down. It's exciting to see, though. We've seen a lot of competitors experiment with that, play with that. And like you said, Austin, a lot of times everyone comes out, they want to see that, and he doesn't use it the whole competition.
Right.
It's like the conditions weren't right.
Yep.
I didn't have what I needed to make it worth it.
And, Austin kind of did a disservice to the rest of the field when he came out and used it and made it look easy. And everybody thought, oh, I want that too. We're going to push a button and make it work. And the next group of guys who went to do that realized, wow, that kid's got a lot of skill. It was not that easy to do. And so the MT propellers, in fact, I think they're the only company that's providing that right now, although we do have a manually induced reversible prop that Hal Stockman's using the Duke propeller, I believe, on his. And I'm not sure if anyone else out there is using that, but Hal's is a very, very modified, customized thing. It's not something that you can just go buy off the shelf. But MT does make that for certain applications, certain engines, certain packages. They're distributed by McFarland.
And just in case you're wondering, the idea with a float plane to have reverse thrust we've been talking about beta or reverse thrust for a long time now. But the idea behind that is that if you're in the water, you need a little extra maneuverability.
I never thought about that. I'm born and raised in the desert, and seaplane is so far from my realm of world. And, I heard that, seaplanes had the opportunity to, pick up parasites from one lake to another. And I thought, and I'd heard that, and I thought to myself, growing up in the deserts of Southern California, I thought, is that really even a thing? We don't even have lakes. Like, who has a seaplane? I'd never even seen one before. And it's just so amazing seeing them all out here when you go to Florida and everybody's got one. It's super neat to see all that. It's just a different world out there. And I really, really admire it. Ty Firkin flies a Kit Fox in some of these STOL events. He's actually got some new ones that he's going to put on his Kit Fox 4. And I'm excited. He said he's going to fly out to my house and come check it out. So we'll see how that goes. It'd be really, really neat to see those and be on the water. But that is definitely something I'd love to do in my future. Is check out that seaplane thing. But you're right. How are you going to get back to a dock if the wind's blowing? You're kind of stuck.
You need to be able to push and pull.
Yep.
We should talk a little bit real quick. I just want to mention some friends of ours that help make this possible. We really appreciate them. And I'm just going to go down a list here during practice and just talk about them a little bit. Ladd Gardner Insurance for aviation. They're aviation protected. We're going to see some legend aircraft competing a little bit later.
Now, Ladd Gardner, he's been with this organization here with National STOL for several years now. I want to say since the beginning. It's had awesome support from him as well. All right, having a little bit of technical difficulties over there with Ryan's mic over there as we watch the Husky here taxi by. This beautiful Husky H76 A1B. And he's just going to go right back to the line. Looks like everybody else is going to depart here during this round of practice, and he'll be working his way back out there. Finn. Now, this plane certainly is a workhorse. It's a heavier bodied frame, a heavier aircraft, kind of more stoutly built, made to carry a little bit more weight, and just a kind of a longer, so it's going to have a little bit longer takeoff, a little bit longer landing, as it has more weight to accelerate and then also more weight to decelerate. But anything with aircraft, you give and take. So you're going to give up some of those shorter takeoffs and landings to get some of that carrying capacity and power out of those engines. So there's always something to give up when you're trying to get something in aircraft. That's why there's so many different styles of aircraft, from your little racers to your bush planes, because none of these planes can do everything. And if they do multiple things, they usually don't do any one of them very well, but they will be able to do several things.
I've been looking at barnstormers a lot lately, like most pilots do.
Yeah.
And one aircraft that I'm really having a hard time making a phone call about, or not making a phone call, is there's a Flybaby. A very affordable priced Flybaby, open cockpit, single seat, wire braced wings. Definitely not good for Wisconsin.
You're gonna have
in the winter.
I've never heard of a Flybaby. I'm gonna have to look that up and learn about it.
It's there was an EAA design competition way back in the day.
Okay.
And you get the plans for it in Sport Aviation, and you could build it. And Pete Bowers is the guy that designed it. And there's one. I don't want to say how affordable it is, because someone will go buy it out from me. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to buy it or not. It's like less than a Honda Civic.
Okay.
Less than a used Honda Civic.
A used Honda Civic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So really affordable plane.
Well,
but you were talking about.
It's an older one, yes.
Yeah. Not all of them are biplanes. A lot of them are.
Is
just
the one you're looking at a biplane or a single?
No.
Then I looked up the wrong one. Let me go back. Let me go back and look.
I'll show you. I got it bookmarked here. We're gonna.
Okay.
Whoa!
There we go.
Easy on those brakes. Easy on those brakes.
I heard a little bit of that creaking there on those brakes. He's definitely on them, and that's what you got to be.
You saw the prop get a little close, just a little close, but it was all right.
That's all right. No closer than Jeff Pohl does on a takeoff, I would say.
That's true. So you're just talking about different strokes, horses for courses, right?
Yes.
Hi from Dawson City. Dan Reynolds is in the chat. Hi from Dawson City.
Dan Reynolds, hello.
Dan Reynolds, if you don't know, Google him. I think he had a landing this year that was shorter than his aircraft is long.
I call it the lawn dart landing that he did. It was the most incredible landing. He just, he's coming in a little high. He says, you know what, I'm a little high. The only way to get down is to just dive, and just went for it and just lawn darted into the ground and stuck it perfectly, winning him that competition. He certainly earned that one. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He earns all of them that he wins, but super accomplished pilot. He's very sad to not have been here. I spoke with him about a week ago. He really would like to be here, but he's having, he's an outfitter, or has sold a business is outfitting, and he's having to help the folks at home and get that all running with the transition and all that. And he'd really love to be here, but unfortunately he's not able to. We, as the Steve Henry crew, really miss him. He's really just direct competition for him. When he shows up, we don't know who's going to win.
Yeah.
He's just a great guy, just a great personality. Wonderful. Love to have him around, and I'm so glad that he's come down from Canada to come compete with us. Which he's not the only one going to be coming down from Canada. There's a new pilot this year. He's not new this year, but he's going to be coming down as well. Jason. I'm not going to give you the whole name, with the secret RANs that he's just going to be unveiling that he just finished.
Wait a minute.
Ooh.
I wonder about that, because I feel like I saw he was selling an aircraft on Barnstormers.
Oh, wow. That would be
so
awesome.
maybe maybe it's a little bit of a, maybe we're
Jason
we're teasing.
Bussard. I
Yeah.
gotta give it to you. Yeah,
I didn't want to, I don't know. You started talking about secret stuff. I don't want to be the one that said it.
If he wanted us to stop, he should be here already telling us
True.
to be quiet. So we'll just go ahead and talk. Yeah, that's what we do, right? So yeah, bring in his new RANs that he just finished creating with the I think it's is it the Apex, or is he using the Sidewinder this time?
Jason,
but either way, it's an
Jason,
edge.
hop in the chat and
It's an
tell us,
edge.
Jason.
It's an edge performance. He's probably too busy to call in today with I think he's still flying into Oshkosh, but he should be at Rock the Ramp this evening. But let's see if we can find out. I'll look that up.
So you mentioned something earlier, Josh, that I wanted to come back to, and that is we've been talking about mods and pilots that are landing shorter than their airplane is long, and lawn darting, and you work for Steve Henry and pulling that airplane together. Here's that Husky again. Really nice slip. Right over the line, safe over the line. A little more timid on the brakes after that last one.
As I would be too. You know, he's that's not your cheap house that you're flying right there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that probably costs about as much as my house. So the thing that you mentioned, and I want to go back to, is this idea of accessibility. So we've been talking about mods and engines and turbochargers and beta thrust, but you're going to see today airplanes like this Husky. You know, maybe a more standard bush plane. You're going to see airplanes in the touring class that are what we call like the heavies, right? Where they're planes that you can buy stock, off the shelf, maybe vintage, that are going to be more accessible. Maybe things that you flew when you were a student pilot, right? These are all planes that can also compete. It's definitely, even though Josh and I have been talking a lot about all these exciting modifications and competition that people have been doing, it's definitely this sport can definitely be a rung what you brung type deal, where you can really say, hey, I fly. We've literally had, I think at Sodbusters last year, someone was competing in a 150. We might even have someone in a 150 this year. So that is, I'm looking through the list here. We've got Bearhawks, Malls, Cessna 205. We've got a 205 competing. Think about how big that aircraft is. Cessna 170, a 172 tail dragger, a standard 172, 170, a bunch of 170 Bravo models. So think about the 172. I mean, other than the J3, which very near and dear to this airport, you know, the venerable 172 is definitely something that a lot of pilots learn how to fly in. And if you have a 172, I'm a partner in a 172. 14 of us co-own one. You just bring that and race and compete in that. So it's very accessible. It can be accessible, even though we're talking about, you know, hardcore modifications and things like that. It's something that you can really compete in if you're new to aviation or new to competition.
That's right. You know, it is rung what you brung. It, you know, just like any other competition, be it, you know, a knitting competition or a shooting competition, you start off with the bare bones equipment and you work yourself up from there if you decide that that's what you want to do. And some people come out here with just a bone stock 172 and have the most wonderful time no matter what they do and where they place. They just enjoy being around the people and they just enjoy flying, Matt Peterson, and they end up just having a great time and just loving that because like I always say, you know, we come here for the aircraft and we stay because of the people. So yeah, just don't worry about what you're flying. If this is something you want to do, get out there and do it. You absolutely can. And you're going to learn the skills in maybe a lesser capable aircraft that can make you really, really skilled, that when you get to a more capable aircraft would make you a better pilot because you don't have that extra power to help you get out of trouble if something were to go wrong. And so you learn those skills in those lower powered aircraft. And yeah, it's absolutely rung what you brung. Just come on out, have fun. And, you know, this isn't something where you're going to hurt your aircraft either, generally. So people are like, you know, they're worried about hurting it or doing things to it. This is the normal takeoff and landings that you would be doing at an airport. You're getting right towards the end, and you're just going to see, it's not a slow flight competition.
Correct.
It's a short landing competition. So you're as safe as you want to be. You just keep getting slower and slower right at the line when you're right over the line and just trying to get as short as you can. It's not something where there's really no additional dangers here that you wouldn't have just normally flying at your airport anyway. Well, what is different is you got a lot of camaraderie. You got a lot of people here that are all into what you're doing, and it's just a great environment.
Yeah, and I think you can see that here with this pilot taxiing up to the line. If I'm not mistaken, that's Nick Ardillo. I want to pull it up here.
Nick Ardillo, the Southwest captain, you know, flying a commercial airline, you know, as a captain with that airline. And you know, he's one of those few. There are quite a few backcountry pilots out there who fly for the airlines as a living, and there's two groups of pilots. There's those who got into it for the job, and there's other people who got into it for the love of flying, and they have two different perceptions. And he's one of the ones that loves flying. He'll fly, you know, 8-hour flight on his commercial airline job, get off in the morning and get into his personal plane and then fly another 8 hours not getting paid just because he loves flying and get to an event and come do this. And he really, really loves that. And some of his coworkers just won't understand that. They're like, I don't understand why you are going and doing this and you're not even getting paid. Because when you love flying, you love flying.
Someone loves us in the chat.
What?
Eddie Sanchez.
Eddie Sanchez.
From Tokyo. He's in Tokyo right now.
Is he really?
And he said, look at those two handsome announcers.
So Eddie Sanchez, another one of those examples of a commercial pilot, an airline pilot who spends his time doing that for a living and then gets off duty and comes, grabs Sherry and hops in the plane and they go fly all over and have fun flying and doing competing. He's doing both traditional STOL and STOL drag. We're missing him here today as he's building a new plane that he's almost done with. They thought it was going to be here a couple of events ago, and then they thought they were going to be done an event ago, and then they thought they were going to be here today. But that's the way it goes with plane building. There's always some sort of obstacle and things that it always takes longer. And it's just like when people say, how long is this going to take? I always tell them, I got this idea in my head, and I just add 100% to that. And,
oh, sure.
And then I'll only be 50% short of what the truth is. So there's always something going on. But yeah, Eddie Sanchez will be out here as soon as his new plane gets done. He's building a beautiful Highlander with all the different little mods like Steve Henry's got with the turbocharged Yamaha on it. So there's a lot of planes out there who are in the build phase right now who are going to be out here soon. They just haven't made it. And this next year is going to be really, really interesting to see all the new planes coming on out to compete.
And we're watching on replay now. Nick's first landing at practice, really solid. Very, I don't want to say it, it's not a negative. Definitely looks like an airline pilot did that.
It is.
Very calculated and stabilized.
It is. I've been watching him all morning, and he exceptional. Flying this Carbon Cub, gosh, I don't remember the amount of time. Did I mention him? It's been a couple of years. It's 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 2014 Carbon Cub. He's got some upgrades to it. Less than 3 years he's been working at it. He's a rookie airline pilot from Dallas, Texas. And his total flying time, this is kind of getting at what I was saying, 15,000 flying hours.
A rookie at 15,000.
But he qualifies it here, said less than 300 of those hours are tail wheel hours.
Okay, all right. And
he's used to having the skinny wheel in the front.
Yep, and that is a difference, and that is one of the things that when you transition from a nose wheel to a tail wheel, it's like starting all over again. All the things that you remember in school that they taught you, like if you have a quartering tailwind, you do this, and a quartering headwind, you do this, and you're flying a Cessna 172, and you're like, you kind of pay attention to that stuff,
right,
but it's not that important. You get in a tail wheel, it's extremely important.
So there's Nick now off nice and short.
Very nice.
Nil wind.
Correct.
And that basically no wind.
That was a great takeoff for not having any wind here. Absolutely.
Now John Young coming up in stickers. You can see why it's called that.
What a great name for it. And John Young, running another STOL style event or STOL cross, I guess you'd call it. I think that's probably going to be the new term, STOL cross.
I like STOL cross.
STOL cross. There's a couple of events doing that.
You talked about before, again, this is practice, so there's no stakes for it, but that pull too early, we saw that just then with John Young, pulled too early in the planes. He's like, not yet.
It's painful. It's painful because it sticks to the ground like Velcro. Oh my goodness. Here's our ex-rookie champion from the last event. He's no longer a rookie. Now he's got to compete with the big boys because he took first place and got moved up out of the rookie class. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's Patrick McIntyre in that 2006 Rans S7, and you're absolutely correct. STOL kind of just decimated the rookie class and didn't really feel like he was a rookie.
Yeah.
But he just gave it the beans and totally destroyed everybody. And so he's got to, like you said, he's got to compete with the big boys, so to speak, the big boys, big girls. He's from Lincoln, Nebraska, and that's airplane just running 100 horsepower.
100 horsepower, and it's a new airplane to him. He just got this at Wayne, Nebraska. I'm standing next to him, and and he gets a phone call and he goes, I think I just bought a Rans. And I'm like, what kind? He's like, S7. I'm like, what color is it? I don't know.
I don't even know.
He got the deal on it, and he said, let's go with it. Let's do it.
That's pretty good. I mean, I was talking to him after Skull Stole about that Rans S7. Also, Hal, who we saw practicing a little bit before the broadcast started, he was kind of finishing up his first section of practice then, runs that same aircraft. And we were talking about, you've got kind of the same there's like a competitive bit of home-built aircraft, right? You've got the Kit Fox, the Rans S7, the Highlander. They're all kind of like striking at that same little bit of mission.
That's right.
He said he had a Kit Fox for a while, didn't feel like it fit him right.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like it was the right, just his personal take on what he wanted in aircraft. And so he said he just got into a Rans, flew in a Rans a couple times and said, nope, this is it. The tandem, center line seating, something that he preferred as well. So kind of an interesting, I was always like, oh, is it just numbers?
Right.
It's just numbers. But no, like if you're not feeling right inside of it, it's not the right plane.
Just like a car. Some cars that just don't feel right. You don't like the ergonomics of it. You don't like the way it drives for one reason or another. And somebody else might absolutely love that. But, it works for them, but not for you. And that's what's cool about having all of these different planes. And although, like the Kit Fox and the Just and the Rans, they're kind of in, like you said, they're in that same category. There's a few other planes that'll be in that category soon. And to see them in that, I think they're competing with each other. Yes, they are competing with each other, for a customer base, but they're really not when they have when all of them have presently at this moment a 2-year backlog.
That's true.
For purchasing. Who are they competing with? You've got plenty of work. Don't worry about it. Look at him.
Yeah, look at Patrick there. I mean, like really close to the line. He's just going to ride it out, but he knows that was a good approach.
Yeah.
And actually, John Young, right? And I want to make sure for people watching this practice session, these aircraft wouldn't necessarily be competing against each other. John Young in the Husky, that's a lot heavier than the other two aircraft we're seeing in this practice session.
It is. And, surprisingly, some of these different aircraft that we would normally not see competing against each other with these new classes, they are put in together. And it's not necessarily based on their weight or their engine power. It was done from statistics from the previous years of National STOL. We had some data that Tom put together and found out you might have a bigger, heavier plane, but it's got more horsepower, and it ends up that the landing and takeoff distance are nearly the same. So they categorize those all together. So the groups there's fewer and they're bigger, which is also nice to see.
So Nick off the ground again, pretty short for, I think I just saw 3 knots. 3 knots of wind right now, almost a pure headwind for them, but 3 knots not enough. We want to see big winds for short takeoffs and landings. He would actually tomorrow, you'll see him compete against Patrick McIntyre in the S7. So those two will be going head to head. The Husky, though, let me find where he is here. That is backcountry class.
Is there an award for the loudest airplane in this competition?
I think you guys will win that.
It's possible. We're definitely, John Young is going to give us a run for our money, though.
That was loud.
That was very loud. Yeah, Steve Henry's engine is a different kind of noise. It's a
dry loud.
It's a dry loud. Yes, that's right. That's right. It's not as bad. Yeah, that one's painful to my ears from that prop. So an interesting thing about this Rans S7, it has the most unusual location for flaps. And so pilots often have a very difficult time engaging the flaps and disengaging the flaps in flight. There's been some folks in other events that I've watched, and I don't know if I've told the story before, but
no.
Brian Moore, for example, I watched him a number of years ago at Outlaw STOL in Arizona, and he's taking off, and the plane would bank to the left right after he took off at about 10 feet every time. And I'm just the strangest thing. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, Brian, what is going on with your airplane? Something seems pretty strange. And he's like, well, get in it. I hopped in it and he goes, now pull the flaps. It's underneath your left leg, like literally directly behind your left leg. So your left leg has to move either out or in both of those affecting in one way or another, and you have to lean over, affecting your stick and moving the airplane. It is the most unusual placement of that, and there's a whole industry beginning on trying to find different locations of aftermarket parts to correct that location of that stick. And it was very weird because they were trying to keep it away from the door so that you could have access to both sides of the door in case you wanted it to be a float plane, I assume.
Sure.
And by doing that, it just got put in this most precarious position. And he said when he leans down, the stick goes to the side because there's no room, and it's just a unique thing to that particular model of aircraft.
I feel like I've seen a lot of S7s have been modified with the, like, I don't know if I could call it this, like the carbon cub placement, right? Like that, like roof line.
Yep.
I think
right.
the MOACs also have it. The Legend Cubs have it up there. That, like, I guess let's call it roof.
Yeah.
Ceiling placement of.
Yeah. What were the original? Well, not original, but like your Super Cubs. I guess that's where everything's kind of branching from it. That one's also up there, right?
Is that up there? I guess then that would be the OG.
The OG ones. Yeah, I think they all kind of branch from that, and it's a really easy position because your body is in a normal ergonomic position when you grab that. You don't have to move it around any weird, funky, and then your hand comes down to the throttle on your left. And that's another thing. Some of these guys have had to learn how to fly a plane opposite hands because some throttles, like for example Steve Henry's plane, his throttle's on his right hand. It's a center console veneer kind of style throttle where the Cubs are on the left hand. So some people fly with the left hand or some people fly with the right hand, and the planes are often made only one way for that, and it makes them have to accommodate or adjust their flying to make that happen.
Ergonomics, we were talking about it before, we're talking about it again.
That's
it's all
right.
super important. You know, going back even to that conversation about Austin Clemens, right? Like with the reverse thrust. He said, I'm running out of appendages to like hit all the things I need to hit to make it work.
Yeah.
You got to like give up on it. I mean, we've even seen, although I don't know if I would recommend this, like Justin Tisdale, who you'll see later today, there were some earlier competitions where due to the, various workload things and how his brakes were working, we saw him at Outlaw hands off the controls, not my personal recommendation, grabbing onto the structure, and so he could put his full weight onto the brakes. That feels like he could fix that in mechanical, but there's just a lot of different things you have to do to make it work. I'm trying to look where are John's flaps?
Boy, that's a good one.
Looking for John's flaps and the Husky. I've not flown a Husky.
I have flown the Scouts, and the Scouts are on the left hand near the floor, and it's a long handle that you got to reach way down, but you're only down for a half a second. It's all the way against the wall, and then you start pulling it up, and now it starts getting into a normal position. But you do have to go down a little bit. Now that's on the Aviat Husky. I'm sorry, what did I say? Scouts. So I assume that maybe it's the same side, but let's take a look.
Let's try to watch it as he comes up here.
See his hands. Some of these guys, you'll see him, like Jeff Bull, for example, you'll see him, his hand will be in his right hand. He'll swing his weight forward and then swing his weight back to try and push that weight back on his takeoff if you watch his whole body movement to try and help that. Might seem kind of strange, but if you're flying in some of these lighter planes, it's a 170, it's not the lightest plane, but you can simply lean back when everything's trimmed out, flying level. You can lean back or lean hard left or right, and that plane will actually turn or start to climb based on your movements, your weight shifts. That weight and balance is so important and all that as well.
I was talking to some of the Legend aircraft guys about their MOACs, and that was something, they're tuning for the conditions today, removing fuel, things like that, and noticed on the tail a lot of ballast on the tail of the aircraft to get that same distribution of center of gravity.
That's right, and a lot of that they're using for braking, and then also getting the higher angle of attack, which you can see an obvious higher angle of attack in this Husky than you saw in the Carbon Cub just a moment ago, and his tail wheel looks actually kind of tall. So here we're going to look here at John to see if you see him lean forward to grab. There he is. You see him lean forward?
Yep.
He's got his shoulder leaning back, and watch these flaps. There they are. So his are going to be down on his left side, I believe.
I don't know if there is a more av-geek conversation you could be having on a Friday than where the position of the flap handle is on all the aircraft that we're looking at today.
I can't disagree with you. You're right. However, I know that the folks at home right now that are watching this are of the same thoughts as we are, except they probably have the right answers.
Right, they're probably Wikipediaing
Yeah,
it.
they're like, these guys, they have no idea what they're talking about. So this guy's dancing. Here we go. Keith is running a dance on in there in the cockpit here. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a Super Cub. Is that right? And so his hand will be upper left. Leaning. Oh, no. His hand went down. Okay, so his flaps are in the left hand. That's unusual. I thought Super Cubs were all up above in the hand, overhead. So I must be mistaken in that.
See, there you go. They're gonna come after you.
Yep.
Here's CC Pocock now. No mistaking his aircraft. Off short, and look how big that airplane is.
It is. You're
and how
absolutely
short
right.
he got that off. Basically the same as Keith Lang in the Super Cub. Keith Lang, for those of you who don't know, I want to make sure I get it right. Third place in the Bush class at Valdez this year.
Wow.
So
That's
he's
awesome.
not messing around.
Yeah, that's quite the distance to get there. What is that? 1,700 miles from even Idaho, from where we're at. It's a distance.
It was a little bit shorter for him. He's from Wasilla.
Oh, okay. Well, that helps. That helps.
There's Nick now. Short, landing short. He's got it really. His approaches are so stable. That's that airline
Yes.
captain part of it, I think,
Yes.
coming in. He's getting in short. And who do we have on base here? We've got...
You know, a lot of
I
these.
think that's John Young on base now, turning base to final for you in the
Okay.
crowd there.
Yeah, a lot of these airline pilots will just let the airliners just come in on autopilot all the way to short final, at which point then they'll switch it over and hand fly it from there. Guys that are generally flying in these competitions, STOL and STOL drag, these are the pilots who really, really want to know, how to fly that airplane. Don't let the computers do it. Let's do it by hand, and these are the ones that are often taking away the controls from their first officer to their surprisement, thinking, what are they doing? Oh, they were bouncing that in there. You can log both of those landings, I think. You got up there pretty high.
Zing! I was thinking, you're about to make some joke about maybe Garmin creating like a STOL mode. They can auto land and STOL. There's Patrick McIntyre now doing a go around. I think just because we had a little bit of a conflict on the runway there, we should talk about that a little bit. Safety, obviously the number one priority at National STOL. And one of the things that we have is you'll see the air bosses off a little bit further up the runway from our broadcast trailer. They are there advising everybody, making sure that they're all safe, separated. And in that case, right, you've got John Young still on the runway, clearing the runway. So calling a go-around for Patrick so there's no confliction between the two aircraft, keeping it nice and safe. You see he's already now on downwind, just opposite the broadcast trailer there. So no real delay for him. That's all we want to do is be safe and make sure that everyone's separated, especially when you're in that high angle of attack position. You might not have the visibility on the runway the way that you would normally. So that's a reason why we have that. Again, they're always there making sure everyone's safe. Keith Lang's excited to be here. He's waving at us in the booth.
That's right. After a perfect landing we just watched. And you're absolutely right. And we encourage the go-arounds and make sure that, we're just doing practice today. So right now it's just about safety, which it will be tomorrow. We're not scoring anything. But tomorrow, if this were to happen and you had to do a go-around, not only do we encourage it, but it doesn't count against you. And you can go around as many times as you need to. We're trying to ask that you don't realize that you're about to scratch and then give it full throttle because you think, oh, this was a bad run. We're trying not to that. But if you are starting to lose a wing or something like that, just go around and it certainly doesn't count against you.
Now here's Patrick McIntyre again and Romeo Lima. Safe over the line. Probably could get a little heavier on the brakes if I'm going to armchair quarterback that one. but
could
really good.
Get a little bit more. Well, we're going to, he's the new rookie, and so we can say that we know better than he does as we sit here in armchair quarterback the pilot. We're couch flying the way this is going on.
You and me right now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you need to have a more angle of attack. You need to get a little slower. Is what you need to do there, Pat. We're out here looking out for you, and absolutely. So I'm sure he won't come visit me in the pits later tonight and talk to us about.
Or maybe he will visit you in the pits.
I'm going to tell him you put me up to it. It's all you, and I didn't really want to talk like that, but
that's fine. I want to talk about. I was talking before about the people that help us make this possible. We have all the volunteers and the folks, staff at National STOL, and the local folks at the airport here. Obviously, the Cub Air flight is someone that we really appreciate. They're hosting us, Kylie's Cub Air flight. Actually, this like I mentioned before, the aircraft I trained at, so it's great to come home to them. There's some other folks that help make this possible. One is Legend Aircraft. You see one taxiing out to the line right now. That's the MOAC, the mother of all Cubs. We really appreciate Legend Aircraft. Lone Star STOL, towards the end of the season, is presented by Legend Aircraft, so we're very excited to have them on board. Also got to talk about our friends at Hartzell Propeller, our friends at FlightHelmet.com, Lift Aviation USA, Sarasota Avionics. We're joking about Garmin's Autoland systems, but they truly are magical. Sarasota is a great partner to look up if you want to look at that. USATrailersDirect.com. We're sitting in a USATrailersDirect.com trailer right now. This is provided by them. It's very comfortable.
This is nice. I love these lights that they got installed.
Yeah, they like LED lights up above us.
They're so clean.
Rugged radios, Flying Eyes. You got a pair of Flying Eyes on now.
I do.
I ordered some. They haven't come yet. I think we're going to be twins. With the glasses.
At Oshkosh, we'll just have to go see, the folks over there and just let them see how that stuff works. Just a quick transition from whatever color you want to do. Really, really like that. So that's kind of convenient. Really, really convenient.
I got to ask them what's taken so long.
We should.
I ordered it like a week ago. It's not.
It's one of those. You're one of those guys.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I want instant gratification, please.
Gotcha.
So that's Flying Eyes. Also, Flight Outfitters. A lot of these sponsors, by the way, providing lots of prizes, right? Sarasota Avionics providing prizes, Flight Outfitters providing prizes for the pilots.
Great prizes too. I love their bags.
Yeah.
I got two. Got the old school versions and then the new school versions, and they're both awesome. The flight bags and the backpacks and the knee boards and you name it. They've got it. Jackets, and I think they're making the jacket for National STOL now as well. Which is
That's right.
A fan. I don't have one, unfortunately. I just like to put that out there to National STOL that I don't have any of that swag. Just to let you know.
I would like to put out to National STOL that I also do not have one of those jackets. That would be great.
Yeah, we're not that guy to say we don't have it. But we
would never make them feel bad about it.
Yeah.
AirTech Coatings, Aero Lead, Committee Coffee, Avi Nation. Really appreciate all of the sponsors' help for making this possible as we practice today.
That sounded like nitrous right there as Brian Stick took off there, and he pulled about a half second too short or too soon and ended up sticking to the ground for an additional 4 seconds. And I really feel for him because that sucks. He's been doing that a lot, because he's one of those top competitors wanting to really push it. And you pull a little early, and man, it works against you. Looks like Keith's got his figured out.
Yeah, so part of that is just figuring out the conditions, right? It's kind of like, I was talking to Jay Stanford. Yeah, I think you know Jay.
Yep.
Super Cub that he built.
Stanford.
Is
it a T in there?
I think there's a T in there.
Is there? Oh, man, I probably have it wrong then.
I was talking to him. Well, Jay, hop in the chat, let us know. Talking to him a lot, and he said he sings a little song. He didn't tell me which one. And it's to help him time his pullback, to grab that bite of angle of attack. When we talk about angle of attack, we're talking about the angle at which the wind is hitting, the apparent wind is hitting the wing, right? And so you want to grab a little bit to get that lift generated, and that's all about timing, as Josh has been explaining. And so certain pilots will sing a song or count to a certain number and give it a yank, so to speak. And then after that first one, based on conditions, well, now you need to adjust your timing, right? So maybe what we saw, that was just the first takeoff for, that was Brian Steck, right?
Brian Steck had taken off there, and then right behind him is Miss America. Actually, Bush Air, there of CC Pocock, and then, no, actually, we're getting really behind here as we're talking so much. And then Miss America over there behind there as we have the little Cub J3 here taking off.
Miss America, by the way, just a really interesting airplane. That is kind of a one of one.
Yes. I speaking with him this morning, he said that there's several different models of that brand of aircraft. They've moved down to South America or something like that, or
I don't know.
And continued to create some other models of aircraft. Same owner, same everything. So we'll have to do some more research and find that out. Ooh, look at this.
This was just surreptitiously. Suddenly.
Yeah,
it was
I like
suddenly
that.
dropped off for us to see. We don't have a coffee maker here at the announcer stand, but this is that committee coffee that we appreciate their support. And then Sarasota Avionics provides a lot of. This is the stuff we're talking about.
Oh,
look at this landing, by the way. Oh, it's a scratch though.
Oh man, so close. There's Beta.
There's a little bit of Beta. Little
he's
throw.
Using it. Yeah. A little
anger.
A little late. Yeah. A
little anger Beta.
Just put that in there. Yep.
So yeah, we have
these are great. These little
Garmin InReach.
Mm-hmm. Looks like the replay there showing it that he looks like he did scratch. You nailed it.
Yeah, it was. You can look at the line judge too. We've got Lexi Duncan, our line judge, there with the flag, and she'll typically be able to call it. Sometimes it's too close to call or too quick to call, and she sends it back to video review. You'll see some of that tomorrow. Here's Keith now dropping it in safely, and look at how no bounce.
That's great, and he looks like he's using Acme Aero Shocks. If I can.
What was your first hint?
Oh, look at that! Sorry, I just looked. I couldn't see the forest from the trees. Is my problem. I just look at the details. So no, you're absolutely right. That was super nice. Super nice. Oh, you talk about the InReach.
I was talking about InReach. I want to throw the camera over here. Never mind the landing.
Oh,
no, let's watch CC. Let's watch CC. We don't need to talk about Garmin yet.
Yes.
Just hanging it on the prop there.
There it is.
Oh, that's amazing. That was awesome.
Perfectly executed.
So you're going to ask a question at home. Didn't the tail wheel touch before the line? And the answer is yes, it did. And do we care? No, it's just the main wheel. So the best thing you can do if you've got a tail wheel is drag that thing, get a little bit of physical drag,
right,
and help slow you down. As long as those main wheels come down on the right side of the line, we're good. So that was a master class in that technique. Here's Miss America now, Gary Varga, with a scratch. He flew up from Burlington, Wisconsin. Seen him in a couple of these STOL competitions.
Yeah, he has been to a few.
Little sporty last year, refining every run. Yeah. And interested to see what he does tomorrow in competition. So far, looking good.
Yeah,
he's put in some practice.
Yeah, he said he's in the last 3 days he's had 75 takeoffs and landings, and so he's really been practicing to try and get that. So yeah, looking much better now.
Trying to Vanna White these now.
Look at this! Oh, fantastic!
We got a J3 coming in on short final here, which is my favorite.
Ooh, J3 or
look at that.
or InReach. That's a tough one.
Oh,
got the little bounce there.
Those bungee cords doing some work.
All in all, what a beautiful landing. About 200 feet there in a J3 Cub with no flaps. Fantastic.
J3 Cub, I think, for people at home that maybe haven't flown in one. I mean, it's like the pilot maker of World War II.
I haven't flown in one. Did I mention that?
No.
I haven't.
I have. Did I mention that?
You might.
Maybe once or twice?
4 or 5 times.
Yeah,
I've also
maybe 100 times.
I've never flown in a Legend Cub either.
I have not flown a Legend Cub. Brian, maybe if you want to fix that, that would be fine. You can see, so Brian's got that ballast too. As you look at the tail, he's got a lot of ballast on the tail to help him keep that tail low. He's got the aircraft finely tuned for today, right? So I saw him, pulling out some fuel, getting the balance just right, the weight just right for how he likes to fly. And he was saying, like, the conditions today, I got to pull more weight out. It's too heavy for today with the way the wind's not blowing. So
the first time he used ballast, he wasn't really familiar with it. He saw some of us, veterans using it there. I say us, Steve. I'm just crewing for him. And he went he was at Reno 2 years ago, and it was really, really bouncy, really bumpy, and it was really tough. Guys were really trying to get their tail down in that race. It was a STOL drag event that time, and so he ran on down to the Big Five store to grab some weights for weightlifting to strap to the tail, and the only ones left were fluorescent pink.
Love that.
Because all the other pilots had went and bought all the other ones because they were learning as well. And he came back and he ended up strapping those things on there, and there was no way to hide them. They were just absolutely bright fluorescent pink under that tail. And boy, he's come a long way from that. Now, he has a machine shop and does fabrication and stuff like that. So he can custom make all these plates and everything that fit in there, but he just didn't have time that evening. But don't worry, Brian, I'll never tell anybody else.
I don't know if I'm supposed to share this. I think he said he's got 32 pounds on the tail.
Oh, boy. It's a big plane, and that's probably about average for guys, that if he had put that in the back seat, it'd have to be, 100 pounds. The further you move that moment arm out there to the end of that tail, you get that leverage on there. So 34 pounds would have the same effect.
By the way, that is why math in school is important.
Okay, I'm glad you told me that, which I didn't do so hot on that.
No, I didn't either, but I guess my kids, even now, I've got a second grader, and she's like, I have to know this. It's like, because someday you might want to calculate how many weightlifting weights you want to strap to the tail of your Legend Cub. And you got to know. You got to be able to do that math.
I get it. Yeah, well, that's really aiming high. She's going to have a Legend Cub, so that's pretty awesome. That's really encouragement.
Yeah, I'd want to just make sure she...
And you heard the RPM change in there, right in the middle of when he went full throttle, immediately went to a higher RPM, and that's the nitrous oxide getting in there, turning up those RPMs right there on that takeoff. That is the only time they use it is on the takeoff. And here comes Miss America. And what airframe did you say this is again?
Scrolling. Hold, please. This is a 2012 World Aircraft Company Sentinel Vision.
It's not something I committed to memory since it's one of one.
Yeah, it flies off his grass strip at Camp Lake Airport. That's 49 Charlie, if you want to look it up. Powered by a Rotax 912, 100 horsepower. He's got some VGs on it.
And that's experimental, right?
I think it was a light sport design.
Oh, light sport, okay.
The Cub here, though, interestingly enough, is actually an experimental Cub. It's a 1990 WAG Aero Cubby J3. So a home-built version of the J3. That particular one is piloted by Jacob Weber from Winona, Minnesota. It's got a C85, 85 horsepower on the front.
Wow.
And there are no mods to it, no STOL mods. He's just...
talking about running what he brung.
Right, exactly. Running what he brungin'? Right.
Yeah. There's going to be so many years that Cubby has in its future. I was seeing one of the original J3 Cubs here that's at the school here on this field here at Hartford. And he was Steve was saying, the flight instructor was saying that it thinks that the airframe there has got 15,000 hours on that airframe, and they just come in and make some mods here and there when they need to do a repair, every dozen years or so, and just keeps it going. It's all the original metal, do the inspections and check it all out. And just to imagine, some of these planes that are built today, they're gonna last in a century if they're well taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm guessing the one that you were looking at, the tail number ended in 186, and if it did, that was the one I soloed in. So it even survived me.
Wow.
It even survived me abusing it, learning how to fly.
Wow. Well, that's impressive. That is impressive.
And we all know how great a pilot I am. Here's Keith Lang with a pretty healthy scratch, if we're honest. But he's got those flaps all the way down. He's just going to roll out. He knows. He doesn't need to...
He doesn't like to leave any doubt out there on the field, and he hates instant replay. All right. So it looks like the breeze is starting to come up just a little bit. Looks like a quartering headwind from the left for the pilots. Ooh, and it looks like it's switching to almost a direct crosswind at the moment from the left. Do you have all this information on you to see what the winds are as far as numbers?
4 knots at...
Oh, there it is.
266, 275. So,
there
just about a direct crosswind almost there. Here's Cece now just hanging. Look at it, how high that nose is.
Held it just a little long.
Very exciting. I believe Cece's going to be flying at Oshkosh as well in the STOL demo, so you get to see him all week if you're going to be heading there next.
great. And then oftentimes he does a lecture based on backcountry flying because he wrote a book on STOL and backcountry flying and holds classes doing that. So I think he'll be probably lecturing on that. He does that about every other year, if I'm not mistaken. And Miss America is
hanging it off there. He got it over the line, but now you've got a lot of extra energy you have to dissipate.
Yep. That is the drawback. Giving a little bit of throttle right just before you touch down to prevent scratching certainly has its consequences. So when you're coming in landing, it's not something that you just last minute. It's not like pulling a car into a parking lot. You're actually planning that parking space a block out, basically, when you're flying. So looks like this crosswind is getting under these guys' wings. It's the second plane in a row to get under there and lift that left wing. They have to be cognizant of that.
Couldn't have been closer, though. Right exactly on the line for that Wag Arrow Cubby. And I want to point out, I don't know if you noticed, just a difference between the more modern Cub designs. We've got Brian Steck taxiing by now. He's sitting in the front.
Oh, that's right, yes.
And in the Wag Arrow Cubby or the J3 Cub, if you're solo, you fly from the rear seat. So just another added challenge. Not only is it you can't see because you're in the rear seat, you also have heel brakes, which are harder to use. And it's just like challenge on top of challenge on top of challenge there. Look who's on the line right now.
Looks like he's calling it quits here, I think. CC Pocock, he just gave a signal that he was done, I think.
There's Gary Varga taxiing by. It's not as hot so far this week as it was last year this time. And I remember looking at Gary Varga just sweating shirtless in that airplane and going, hey, man, mad respect.
Yep.
Go get it.
Now, when you train in one of these J3s, do you train in the front seat or do you train in the back seat?
You train in the back seat and your instructor sits in the front seat.
Okay. And visibility must be really bad.
Super, super poor.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely. You were talking about planning your parking spot a block away, and then we interrupted it with some exciting things.
That's what happens.
Let's go back to that, though. You're talking about when you land an airplane, you're planning it far in advance. You're not just pulling in.
Yes. When I do that, you're planning out a little bit ahead of time. Now, however, I've got this knack for me personally is when everything goes wrong and I have to change everything up, maybe there's a deer on the runway or something like that, and I got to do a 360 at the last moment. That seems to be when I make my best landings, is under pressure when everything's going wrong. So the whole stabilized approach, not really my thing personally. I tend to do it a little different. Stabilized approach, I fall asleep before I get to the runway because I'm just bored. But I'm
You're
also
one of those guys.
I'm flying a 150, so that's what happens. There's really nothing to think about. Unlike this gentleman, did you see him when the whole plane rocked when he just gave a little bit of gas? He's got some power here in this new engine he's got. Micah Lindstrom, the TikTok extraordinaire there, pumping out a ton of videos with that aircraft in there, doing some backcountry flying or the Pacific Northwest version where he's from. Well, actually, that's not really he's from. It's kind of the Midwest.
As Miss America pulls up to the line, Josh, you're going to go start wrenching on your plane some more.
I am. We're just making sure, we got the fuel and checking tire pressure and all that stuff and seeing how it's going to get it ready now that practice is over for Steve. Get ready for
I was going to say kick him out here and get him to practice a little bit more on the broadcast.
Well, with those wing extensions on that we've got there right now, of course, now there's no wind. We're kind of want to debate on if the wind's not just right, we'll end up pulling those wing extensions off. So he's just kind of playing it to see how it's going to work out. And so right now we're just kind of holding off. Plus, we're using kind of a special fuel at $25 a gallon, and the less we practice, the cheaper it is.
Oh, okay. Wow. Thanks for the little tidbit. All right. Well, everyone, make sure to say thanks to Josh for hopping on the mic with us today. Josh, it's been awesome to have you.
Thank you so much.
And we really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And I can't wait to see what you guys do tomorrow.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Here's that Wag Arrow Cubby now. There's nothing better than flying a Cub. You got the door open, just hanging by your side. And by the way, folks, if you are here in Hartford, I got to mention, we got some merchandise for sale. Get some super sweet Sodbusters shirts. We got hats. We got straw hats. If you want a little extra protection, some cool National STOL stickers. I like the new National STOL branding this year. It's really exciting with the shield and everything. So that's something to check out. Go check that out. And also, if you want that, but you aren't here, I believe you can pick that stuff at nationalstolic.com. And you know who would know that? Whoa. Nice. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Now look at the door. He bounced nice and hard enough to knock the door open.
That was one of the more extreme landings you've seen from Michael Lindstrom. Absolutely exceptional. Bringing it in, getting it across the line, and I think that he's probably changing his shorts right now.
Yeah, watching on the... Oh, got that nose coming down. The voice you hear now on the mic is none other than the legend himself, Eric Farewell, one of the co-owners of National STOL.
I'm not even a legend in my own mind.
Well, take the win, Eric. Here we got a Brian Steck, too, with a really textbook landing.
Brian back in the airplane up there with that beautiful reversing propeller. Great to be back here on the mic here in Hartford, Wisconsin. I'm excited because we've got competitors galore and more flying in even tomorrow as the Rock the Ramp event and the Low and Slow crew with Corey Robin make their way across the country. Nick now on approach, dumping the flaps. He's about 8 feet up as he does so. Trying to get that aircraft stopped. His scores were very consistent this morning, and I think as the day wears on, he practices a lot, and that heat does get to you after a while.
It's really interesting to see the two approaches. We have Steve Henry, who's like, I'm burning $25 a gallon fuel, I'm good. And then you've got Nick Ardillo, who's like, how much avgas can I burn?
Absolutely. And we saw that last weekend, also 2 weekends ago. I can't remember the gentleman's name. He was flying an experimental, the Murphy, and I'm pretty sure he practiced for 5 hours straight.
Yeah, I think he maybe stopped for fuel.
Yes.
He had to stop for fuel once, but he practiced the whole session. I forget his name, too. It was great to watch him in that Murphy Super Rebel. Big. And Gary Varga getting a little nose high there, but quick correction to get the nose down. Again, when you've got that extra energy, you kind of go roll further out. And the Cub, the Wag Arrow Cubby now on short final.
It was actually really cool about this airplane is the gentleman flying it, his father built the airplane. And today he made the decision he's not going to race in rookie. Last year he came in as a sport pilot. This year we've eliminated that class, so he registered as a rookie. But after a little convincing and seeing some of our prize table, he got quite interested and is going to be joining the sport class here. Very admirable 149-foot landing there.
Yeah, these takeoff and landing distances are quite short given the minimal wind we're seeing today. Micah looks like he's got his stuff sorted out now. You know, Micah keeps giving us the greatest replays. We had a replay a couple weeks ago at Skull Stole up in Isle, Minnesota, where he decided to go around. It didn't feel right. He decided to go around and literally just barely maybe touching the tops of the blades of grass. It was controversial within the pilots. We had to go back to review with the judges. We had to go back to instant replay, and he managed to, I don't think he could have been any lower. He won the lowest altitude contest that day, keeping it off the ground for the go-around, and now we have a great replay of him bouncing it in hard, so hard that his door popped open.
Now that said, I was actually at the position perfectly on the field at that moment. And I can tell you he did not touch unequivocally, but he was extraordinarily close. And in speaking with him further about it, he's actually posted public on Facebook because this has drawn up some drama. As you can imagine, the scores being as close as they have been between he and Jeff Pohl, you know, the drama is real. And the drama here, he says, look, I had to go around. I lost my left wing, and with the crowd there, I did not want to take the risk. And that's always something that we encourage. We want safety to be number one. And as we see those flags right now pointing downwind, for Micah. We see a pretty long roll, not what we're accustomed to. Brian Steck now taking the line. A beautiful Legend Cub. A little more aggression from Brian. Pulling it off around the 125.
I walked up to Brian just before we started the broadcast as he was defueling his airplane, and I said, "Brian, did you get taller?" He's like, "No, my airplane got shorter."
It did. In fact, he is on much smaller tires than normal. There's all number of different reasons why pilots may choose to do that. But Nick is on bigger tires than he's ever been on before. They're more 8x8s. He's on those beautiful 29s. They may even be 31s. I don't recall. But that's a new addition. He just added those last week and brought it up here to enjoy the friendly skies of Wisconsin.
So, Eric, you've been, we both have been traveling around the country for over half the year now. And I'm wondering if you had anything you could share as, one of the organizers of the National STOL Series that you've seen, storylines that you're seeing, things that you're proud of maybe with the pilots that are participating.
Oh man, there's so many stories, and a big part of this endeavor, the reason why I'm involved in it at all, is because of the people. These people are just absolutely incredible human beings. They're adventurers at heart, and they're competitors through and through. So you are bound to get some drama. You're bound to get some excitement. We made some pretty rash changes to the rules earlier this year. Our rules committee and my co-founder here, my co-owner Tom Flannery, had ideas. He said, look, I have data, and data is life. So he was able to go through all of our competition results and say what makes this the most competitive it can be. And it meant taking airplanes like the one you see in front of me, that beautiful Cessna 170 on the bounce, and pitting it against airplanes like the American Husky. Now the Husky, traditionally two-place tube and fabric aircraft, something that would not have been in the same category prior, actually is incredibly competitive with the 170, and the 170 is incredibly competitive with it. So even starting the year out, before we even kicked off our first event, we had pilots up in outrage. And while there certainly are a few standouts, a few things that could hurt us, on this trend or this goal of having the most competitive, most fun to watch events, there's a couple pilots that we'll see tomorrow. Austin Clemens with his reversible pitch propeller and his incredibly controlled piloting.
It's like you cued it. You said reversible pitch propeller, and he engaged it.
Engaged the reversible pitch. So Austin throws those numbers off. There are a few people out there that throw these numbers off, and right now Jeff Pohl is on the hunt. He's on the fight to be able to take on Austin with the wing extensions that he's added, and he's found a little more horsepower as well. So we've seen a lot of play. The whole point of racing here, guys, is that we want to bring more radical advancements to aviation quicker, faster, and more efficiently. We do see it in every other form of racing. Why not airplanes? It's one of the reasons why National STOL is here, to enhance the safety of pilots and to enhance the technology available to us. As Nick Ardillo there just greases it in that beautiful number 68. That's actually his new race number.
A little bit of brake fade, I think, for him. As he's continuing to practice, his brakes are getting hotter, a little bit less effective, but nothing to be too worried about, but something I'm sure he's thinking about now as he continues to practice. Here comes Miss America now. Kind of high approach this time.
Looking a little bit fast, but that's kind of a standard entry. And again, this airplane is extraordinarily capable for what it is, and we've seen Gary dramatically improve. I just spoke to him just before I sat down with you, and it was funny. He came up and he said, "Man, thanks so much for doing this. We're so glad that we get to come out and do this." And I said, "Man, it's awesome to see you here and see you progress." And then I was giving him a little heck because before the broadcast, his first takeoff run, he took off. We kind of veered a little left to the center line and started drifting toward this beautiful Waco on floats that's on its way to Oshkosh. The Waco was parked in the taxiway, and I said, "I saw their eyes getting pretty big there, buddy. You might want to keep it down the center line." But that's all right. He kept it together, and now we've got that gorgeous Cub.
So I think tomorrow, I have a huge soft spot in my heart for anything Cub-shaped. But I think for me personally, I don't know if I'm allowed as one of the announcers to have a favorite or someone I'm rooting for, but I think I might be rooting for Jacob Weber because he's in that Wag Aero Cubby J3, and he's competing against tomorrow Colin Kaniva, Justin Tisdale, Nick Ardillo. You saw Patrick McIntyre earlier. You got these really, really competitive numbers, and at least today, Jacob Weber in the J3 Cubby is putting down similar numbers in a plane that is not on paper supposed to compete at all. So that's where I'm going to be watching tomorrow.
So Jacob told me earlier that he actually is consistent at a 140-ish foot takeoff, and we've seen the landings here in those same numbers. So while it certainly should not be competitive without flaps, without the big motor, the reality is a lot of that is piloting skill, and we're seeing it happen here in conditions that are not conducive. These winds are swirling. We've got crosswinds, we've got tailwinds, we've got headwinds, we've got all kinds of winds, and he is able to pull off a pretty remarkable stance right now. But to do so against those greats like Colin Kaniva and Justin Tisdale will certainly be a challenge that we'll all be excited to watch.
Yeah, and I'm watching. You said there are swirly winds. I'm looking at the flags right now. We've got either a direct crosswind or a little, well, now that I said that, a little bit of a headwind. But we've also just saw, when Brian Steck was taking off there, a little bit of a tailwind. Again, not massive, but every knot of wind that's behind you is going to push you further and further down the runway.
It does indeed, and we want every advantage we can get when we're trying to keep it as short as possible. Nick on the roll again, pulling the energy out of the airplane just right. We saw it may have been a slightly late pull because he was able to climb up above that 3 foot threshold that I kind of look for. If they're able to bounce up to 3 feet, you know they could have pulled a moment sooner, but there's always the risk factor if you pull too early and she just sticks like glue. Miss America on the roll.
The stats on that airplane are pretty insane. Oh, getting a little tail brushing the grass there for Gary Varga. The stats on that airplane are really interesting. I think its stall speed is like in the 30 knots or 30 mile an hour. It's
correct,
super slow. And you wouldn't expect it looking at that. It doesn't look like an airplane that stalls that slow.
It certainly does not, but here's another airplane that you can get nice and slow. It's one of the draggiest things I've ever flown. I miss my J3 more than any other airplane I have ever sold. And it's because of that look right there, that classic, just true America homegrown. That's what an airplane should look like. I know you got a 172 and you probably feel like every airplane looks like a one. I mean, newscasters think every airplane's a 172.
Yep.
So,
yep.
But to me, a J3 Cub is right where it's at. That's so near and dear to my heart. I had a 65 horsepower 1946, and there's just something special about hand propping it, jumping in the seat, and exploring the sky, especially with someone new. Micah now on the right. Heavy under braking.
Balancing it just right. That door is still open.
Have you never, you own a Cessna, right?
Yeah, I know. I know. There, yeah. What's the whole thing about, like, you close one door, the other one opens?
Always.
That's a Cessna for you?
Only thing worse, we had a family Piper Twin Comanche growing up, and it had those inflatable door seals. And I'll never forget being right over MCO, Orlando Airport, and having the door seal blow open. It about gave me a heart attack.
I bet. Here's Brian Steck now, short final. He's got the nose nice and high, tail wheel nice and low, dragging it up.
It's going to be a scratch, but we've seen from Brian more and more aggressive styling. The way he starts to fly this airplane as he gets dialed in is really pushing. You know, he knows that tomorrow he needs to get a score on the board, and after that, he's free to push the airplane as far as it will go. And Brian is very well known for doing just that.
Nick Ardillo now lower on his approach. He's getting it slowed down. He's good, it looks like. Yep, good over the line.
Nick is a Southwest pilot by day. He said 2 years ago he was at Lone Star STOL, saw these guys flying STOL planes, and knew that he wanted to do just that. So he went out, got his tail wheel rating, and contacted Colin Kaniva and started asking him questions. Next thing he knew, he had a Carbon Cub SS just like Colin's, and he's here now on the circuit, winning first place in the rookie class at his first event. Moving on to join us for as many events as he could possibly make with that arduous schedule of an airline pilot. He's Dallas-based and says that he is hooked. He says he wants to be at every single event if possible.
And again, I want to put in perspective, this is someone with over 15,000 hours of flight time, but he says only 300 hours of tailwheel time. I, as a more recreational pilot, I do not yet have 300 hours total flight time. So it's definitely something to be impressed with, the amount of hours, the amount of practice Nick Ardillo is putting in there. Look at that landing now for the Cubby. I might be, if I were a betting guy, I think he's on the board tomorrow. I just jinxed it for him, but
No, you didn't jinx a thing. Now, hours and airplanes are an interesting thing. You know, everyone wants more and more hours, and I've been blessed to have a lot of hours and a lot of different types, but there's a certain point where, you just have to stop counting. So we're just going to pray that you get there faster, all right?
yeah, there we go. Yeah, just got to get some more air under the wings. There's Gary now taxiing by the booth.
Micah taking the line. We'll wait for these pilots to stage, and they're off once again. We've got more pilots setting up right now on the ramp. I saw Brandon Korn preparing to fly. Saw a few others getting ready as well. Excited to see who we see in this open practice session. We're still debating the timeline for tomorrow with potential weather coming in the afternoon. We may be starting early, which could be quite exciting. But we shall have to allow that to, we'll just have to see what happens. You never quite know what's going to happen around here. Too many adventures. And one of my things I'm most excited about for tomorrow is we know that we have so many pilots that aren't here yet. Kyle Bushman in the Rev 3, that incredible backcountry Super Cub. I think he has something like 80 gallons of available fuel. Absolutely.
That's insane.
Yeah, insane. Nuts, shocks, just absolute wild airplane. Of course, Colin Kaniva, Corey Robin, so many others. I don't know if we're going to get Corey to compete, but he may be right here announcing. And some special friends that we expect to be joining us as well. Waiting now for those air bosses to release our pilots. We do have a cross runway here. We've had quite a few transients. But here he goes, Micah Lindstrom on the roll right now. Taking a serious bite there. Again, we see him pulling a little late. Looks like his door is open once again. I think he's just counting that as air conditioning.
I mean, he might. It's a little, I could use a little bit of breeze here in the trailer.
As could I. And he does have the STC required to remove the side door for photography. We were doing that in Isle, Minnesota just 2 weeks ago. Getting some great shots you've seen here on this live stream today in our bumpers. That's those really nicely produced pieces of content shot by Reese Dakan and Brendan Thompson, two of our filmmakers from Florida.
And as Miss America takes off here, I want to direct everyone's attention now to the right there as we have that massive airplane taxiing up. That's Brandon Korn in a Cessna 205. He does things in this airplane that no one has any right to do in an airplane that large, and it also is just stunningly beautiful. That's something he painted himself. He's an owner of a collision center. Behind him, in a 180.
Sorry, I got excited. I thought you gave me the pause there, but looking here at Brandon Korn dragging the tail, that's a McFarlane tail skid, and he absolutely puts it to work. But behind him in the 182 is Aaron Greer, who we haven't seen in a while on the circuit. And watch how he's super competitive as well. What's really unique about this is the last time we saw Aaron was actually in Wayne, Nebraska. There he is dragging the tail as well, but he was flying a different aircraft. He was flying his Highlander. He had an incident there during STOL drag that left the aircraft damaged, and so he had a choice. He said, do I fly my very, very slow airplane from Washington, or do I fly my 182? So he hopped in the 182, and now he is here. He said it was an 11-hour flight yesterday to get here. But he is thrilled to be in the great state of Wisconsin, and we're glad to see him back on our circuit, back in the airplane that we're used to seeing him in, because he just bought that Highlander.
Yeah, I like that tail art, like the weird, it's like a sheep.
I'll have to look closer.
Look at what it is. I don't know.
On approach now from the right, Micah, it's a scratch. Super heavy under braking again. We're seeing more aggression from Micah than we've seen in a while, just in the braking and in his willingness to take the hit. That gear has been rebounding hard.
The other really impressive thing about Aaron Greer is that he only 220 flight hours. He's like a brand new pilot.
I think that some of those numbers are a little fudged, or maybe they were accurate a year ago, but you never know.
Well, let's round it up to 320. That's still
what a
pretty
legend.
Impressive.
What a legend. Absolutely working it in. Nick Ardillo, another guy who's been working it hard, across the line safely, flaps out, back into the brakes. I have a feeling we'll be seeing from him very soon a new set of brakes because he does have that brake fade on the right side. Brake fade is a constant challenge for all of our competitors. And we have a few late entries coming in. Looks like our gentleman in a Rans S20 will be joining the Unlimited Series. We've got some really cool stuff done to that airplane. It's just absolutely incredible from Jason Boussat. Yeah, with that incredible airplane. Watching him fly, his deck angle is just obscene. Miss America now sliding by. That's probably the shortest landing we've seen from Miss America yet. I didn't notice if it was a scratch or not, but it was probably the shortest landing so far today. Winds steadying slightly, a little quartering crosswind. 3 knots from 267 degrees now. It is warm today. And as we see that 205 crossing line, this is where Brandon has been doing the most work possible, really trying to figure out that perfect moment because he does have a very unique challenge in that airplane that most of the other competitors in his class do not, and that is electric flaps. You notice he's constantly starting off with those flaps down, and he's not able to remove them as quickly as the Johnson bar flaps, but he does like to stay safe, and that's why we like to see him.
Look at that.
FlightHelmet.com helmet.
We talked about FlightHelmet.com. These pilots up for grabs, right? End of the season?
So no, these are actually FlightHelmet.com's helmet. The other helmet that's on your left is from Lift Aviation. Now Lift has done, they look similar, right? But this one is more polished. I think it's pretty. And Lift is actually sponsoring awards for each of our competitors that wins their class and overall standings for the year. So there'll be customized helmets for each and every one. I see right there, it looks like Nick Ardillo is wearing one of these helmets right now. And it's actually in our rules that we would prefer to have all pilots wearing them. And it has been notified in this year's rules that in future seasons, we anticipate it being a rule for all pilots to have a helmet just to enhance their safety.
And this FlightHelmet.com helmet, by the way, has Lightspeed noise-canceling headset integrated into it, which is pretty luxe.
They're really beautiful.
So that's
I'm just
a great
surprised
thing.
you're not wearing it yet. I guess you're not Corey Robin.
No, he's going to wear it tomorrow. It only goes on his head. There's some other stuff we should talk about, though, with our friends over at Lift Aviation. You know, we've got a knee board type thing. We've got like the old school
flying
flight
cap. Man. Yeah, you gotta have a flying cap. Super
flying
cool.
cap there. So those are things that are up for grabs for pilots. And the other thing, we were watching Brian Steck compete, and one of the things that the Legend guys do is they have a pair of golden shoes that they will each wear depending on who wins. These are not golden, but
thank goodness they're not golden.
These are flying shoes.
I actually have these exact shoes in a much larger size, and I love them.
So talk to me about this part here, because this is what makes them special, right?
It seems silly, but these sliders allow you to operate the rudder pedals, particularly on an airplane like the J3 Cub, where you have those heel brakes, allowing your feet to slide easily instead of having them catch on the rubber. Very nice. Brandon Korn pulling early, floating it off around the 335-foot mark, give or take. Again, that parallax effect affecting me right now. And Andrew Greer. Andrew is going to be one of the strongest contenders to take on Brandon at this event. Brandon showing signs of under 100-foot takeoffs at previous events. It all comes down to the weather, and right there we saw a very impressive takeoff from Aaron. That is about a 250-foot takeoff. Pretty exceptional.
It's interesting to me that without the judges, it feels like almost all of the takeoffs and landings are the same. Because it's just so, the lack of wind. I mean, look how calm it is right now. I hope Maybe there's some students at the school who want to do a first solo right now. It'd be perfect.
This is the day for it. Micah Lindstrom now on your right in that beautiful Cessna 170B. Oh, that's not Micah. I looked at the wrong screen. That's Nick Ardillo in the Cub Crafters SS. Guys, the heat's getting to me, I guess. I've been outside running around like a chicken with my head cut off, but it's been fun, especially as we see more and more locals from here in Hartford coming out. The support of the community is incredible. It's our second year here in Hartford, and it's been made very clear that they're happy to have us, and they hope that we come back again next year.
Okay, here comes Miss America now. Short final. Descending down. He's got the flaps probably all the way down for that type. Gave up about 65 feet, 60 to 65 feet before he touched down. So going to have to rein that in to be competitive tomorrow. I don't know if that's what it's about for Gary. I think he's just having a great time and improving himself, becoming more proficient. But that's one way you can shorten that distance, right? It's just get those wheels as close to that line as possible without going before it. And if I'm not mistaken, Brandon Korn now. Brandon Korn now on base to final.
And out here at the Hartzell tent, we see Built on Honor, our air bosses. These are volunteer air bosses, some of the best in the business with many, many years of Oshkosh and Sun and Fun experience. And we got that brand new tent from Hartzell, one of our series sponsors. Hartzell has been great to us, offering a propeller for one of our winners. But with that said now, not with the Hartzell, but with an MT prop, our friend Brandon Korn, listen to that MT whistle. He's off the power and touches just before the line.
Lexi's just looking at it. She's not sure what to wave. I would call that a scratch.
From my angle, I would as well.
She just looked over at us and said, I don't know. It was really close.
Very close. That may have actually been good. Let's take another look. Ooh, I think they're down.
Yeah, I think they landed just a few feet ahead.
Super close to call.
Aaron Greer now. Safe over the line. He's got that yoke full back.
Interesting in number there on the side.
By the way, I was saying I wasn't sure if it was a sheep. The intel I have now, as sent to me by text, is that it's a cow.
I want to know the story there.
It just says, all I have in text is it's this person. It says it's a cow, and his seats are leather with cowhide cutouts.
All right. The more you know.
Adding a little weight, maybe.
And a little bit of intrigue for sure as these pilots taxi past, giving us an opportunity to get a closer look at the beautiful airplanes.
It is a cow. I see it now. Now that it's up close, I see it. Yeah, that's definitely a cow.
Definitely a cow, indeed.
You think a guy from Wisconsin know what a cow looks like?
Well, I know where you can find some cheese curds, though. They're not far away. Nick on the roll. We tried Minnesota cheese curds last week or 2 weeks ago, and they didn't quite hit the spot the same way.
I was personally offended that you even ate them. Gary Varga, he's going to keep practicing all afternoon, I think.
It's funny, as a Floridian now living in Texas, this whole like local food thing, all I want to eat is barbecued alligator. Just feels right, you know?
Here's Brandon Korn now. I just can't talk enough. Ooh, that's loud. I can't talk enough about what he does in a plane that is so heavy. If I'm not mistaken, it's the heaviest plane in the circuit. Nursing it off then.
Nursing it off the ground. Absolutely. And again, these conditions are not helpful. I'm looking at flags on the right side of the starting line that are all facing the wrong direction, flags on the left side of the starting line that are facing the correct direction, but you're never quite sure just how much wind there is because they're barely moving.
Aaron Greer off pretty short that time.
Aaron once again showing us about a 75 to 85 foot difference between he and the 205. I know that Brandon, when he saw that Aaron was here in the 182, kind of shuddered a bit because he was hopeful because Warren Grobelar is not making this one. Warren on family vacation, I believe.
Look who's back, it's Stickers.
stickers. John Young, that beautiful Husky from Arkansas, pulling it off right around the 250-foot mark.
And Nick Ardillo now turning base to final. Would you agree with me, Eric, that this is one of the, I don't know if this is fair to say, because 2 weeks ago I was saying the same thing in Isle, Minnesota about the turf. It's just one of the best turf runways, I think, that we see during the competition. Like, it's so well groomed, so well maintained. I think the one in Isle is technically flatter.
Flatter, yes, but so much more narrow and so much more challenging to arrange a display like this. Having the space they have here in Hartford is really uniquely special and fabulous for us. The stress level goes down a lot. You have plenty of room for taxiing on both sides of the runway. You have plenty of room for the crowd. It's just a beautiful location, and I'm grateful this is our second time here. I'm looking forward to more events at places like this. And if you'd like to see National STOL come to your town, if you've got the perfect location you believe, there is a link on our website. Go to our website, click on About, and feel free to contact us with your information. We'd love to come to your town, county, state, whatever it might be, and bring this event and all of our incredible pilots and their crazy airplanes, crazy skills to a local area near you. Once again, that's nationalstol.com. So feel free to check out our website, read more about who these pilots are and what their stories are, and see where we are going to next, because we've got some really cool locations coming up, including Nashville for Music City STOL and Pinedale, Wyoming, where we're going to get to see how these airplanes perform at incredibly high density altitudes.
Yeah, normally in the circuit we get density altitude via heat.
Right.
Whoa, really nice plopper for Brandon Korn in practice there. He was definitely only up on the nose wheel for a section there, but
man, we had a moment at Lone Star STOL last year where Brandon's his home event, and it was muddy. And there was a moment where the mud, it looked like it was going to go over the airplane. You can see here in the replay that same idea of just getting lots of weight on the nose gear. I know that Brandon got out of the airplane and we begged him to look at his prop because it was that close, but he was able to get stopped in an incredibly short amount of space. Aaron Greer, heavy on the brakes, going a lot further than I know he wants to. That very lightweight 182. And I say lightweight, that's a gross misunderstanding. Lightweight compared to a 205. Coming back now, we've got John Young in the Husky. John's one of the founders of Arkansas, another wonderful STOL event in, of all places, Arkansas.
I wasn't sure where it was. I didn't know.
Coming up at the end of September.
So you got to wonder, John was out earlier for practice. He's practicing again. I wonder if he's dialing anything in, maybe distributing some weight, within the aircraft, trying to just figure out exactly how he wants to get it prepared.
His exact words to me were, Eric, this year I'm actually practicing. I guess from last year where he didn't really get much time to practice, it's great to see him out there working it, getting good, getting dialed. Again, the mission here at National STOL is not only to inspire the next generation of aviators, but to inspire current pilots to better themselves and become the safest and best pilots they can be for themselves and their families. It's so funny to hear Miss America taxi by with that little road tax, so that you hear what sounds like an old Oldsmobile coming by, and Brandon Korn and Aaron Greer.
I was going to say, Brandon Korn reminds me, maybe it's because in Milwaukee we just had the 120th anniversary of Harley Davidson. Sound like an old Harley rolling by.
Off the ground with some pretty serious energy left over. Always unique to see these airplanes out here working the pattern, and always really fun to watch our air bosses as they're able to kind of pick up on the different speeds they need and the kind of separation they need to keep the pilots safe.
Yeah, one thing that we do during normal competition, I think, is we go to the order, right, of the fastest airplane in a class goes first all the way down to the slowest, so they're never really bunching up against each other. That's a big safety item.
And safety is the name of the game here at National STOL. Once again, with all the speed and aggression, flaps already down. Again, you'll notice that on the next airplane, they're not down because he has the Johnson bar flaps, but Brandon Corn is on the roll, aggressively getting that nose up. The gear started to come off early and then floated back down. Again, if this was a scored session, he would be scored from where his wheels settled back on the ground. And now we see Aaron with just a few degrees of flaps in there, doing that to give himself the maximum amount of elevator authority. There's the rest of the flaps and off the ground around 200 feet. That's an airplane fully capable of taking 4 or 5 adults adventuring.
That's the other part about it that's just bonkers. They have a plane that can do that, taking off this short.
And then cruise around 130 knots.
They got it right when they made that one.
They did indeed, and I think it looks best with a straight tail. Speaking of looking good, Stickers on the roll. Gave a little bit back there as he went for the grab, but got off and stayed off around the 200-foot mark as well.
So, Eric, I just got word that we have an interview. We've got an interview that Reese Stockhand did out in the field with Micah Lindstrom. So why don't we go check out that interview? We can learn a little bit about what Micah's got cooking for our Sodbusters.
And not just that, but what he's got prepared for Jeff Pohl and all of his new changes.
All right, welcome back, National STOL fans. Your favorite, Micah Lindstrom. Talk to us. You just landed in. How's it out there?
It was nice. It was about a 2-hour flight out here, and it was a little bit bumpy, but getting ready to take a first place home again.
Already feeling confident, but did you hear about some performance mods in the motor of your rival, Jeff Pohl?
I've heard plenty about it. I took home first last time, so it's got to do all kinds of different mods to try and get up after me again, but he tried that last time too, and it didn't work out so great for him, so we'll see what happens here.
That is true. He was struggling, but he said he's figured that out. He's got the motor running at tip-top condition. He's saying that you're going to fall down through the brackets.
Well, he also said that I was going to fall through the brackets last time, but I ended up shooting up. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Sounds pretty confident, but
this is what happened here last year? Can you talk us through?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I just remember it was our first time hanging out together, and it's been one whole year since I've actually been introduced to the STOL competition. It feels like a little bit of a homecoming. And how's the plane running? Anything different?
Airplane's running absolutely perfect. I haven't flown it since Isle. I'm going to go out and do a little bit of practice here pretty soon. It's got half tanks, fuel, so performance isn't going to be that great, but I better go burn some off.
We know you got the power in there, the MT prop. We're looking forward to seeing you out there. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, back to you, Ryan.
Holy cow, guys. We just saw the craziest landing from Brandon Corn during that. We're going to show it on the replay right now. You've got to see what happened here as Brandon brought it in, dropping it across the line, bounces up on the nose, back to the tail, back to the sky, and back into the brakes. Brian, what was that for you?
Woo, doggy. That was something else. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
I groaned. And we were in the package, so we couldn't groan in real time. But wow. Brandon's going to be feeling that one.
Brandon's going to be feeling that one, and I think this will be a really interesting conversation with him about what he feels went on there. Obviously, the swirling wind, some challenging conditions. Did he feel like he just lost the wind? Did he feel like everything fell out from underneath him? Or will he take it on the nose and say, I just screwed up? Knowing Brandon, it could be any one of those three, and I very much look forward to hearing more tonight, which is one of the reasons why you should be here at this event live. If you're watching our videos, it's great fun to be online and watching. I'm here to tell you guys, the people that are here and the conversations that take place after the stream goes dark are some of the most incredible conversations about airplanes, about everything. Just wonderful, wonderful people. I can't wait to get the lowdown and debrief from Brandon, but as the wind is picking up, John Young from your right. Nice slow landing.
It felt very benign. Compared to what Brandon Corn just showed us. I want to say something about that, though. The fact that Brandon isn't afraid to push, right? He's in a giant airplane. He's got to carry extra speed. You need more speed to offset that weight. He's not even looking over here at us.
Cool as a cucumber.
Cool as a cucumber. Maybe mad as a something that starts with M. Anyway, we'll talk about it. But
I'd say mad as a hatter, but that's, we can go with something else if you'd rather.
But definitely, right? Like, he is so aggressive, and I think what's interesting is you've got Warren Grobelaar, who you mentioned is not going to be here this weekend, unable to attend. Warren, for the longest time, has been the one to beat.
He has been indeed.
And Brandon is in a plane that is significantly larger, nipping at his heels every competition.
And my understanding is we have Kurt Leaders coming in tonight, so we'll have some more competition in this heavy class. Brandon, right back on the horse, doesn't hesitate. I'd have a landing like that, and I'd want to, catch my breath for a week or two. But instead, he pulls it off the ground around 225 feet.
Here's Aaron Greer now. Wonder what he saw. I gotta wonder. Do they notice when a competitor has a more sporty landing? Are they noticing that, bringing that into account with their approaches strategically?
Right here, we see Aaron take a little bit too big of a bite a little too early and get stuck to the ground like we've talked about. But that's all right. He's done some really unique painting there over his original N numbers. He's got the small numbers on the tail now, and I love that it says race number left up. Stickers on the roll. Love the orange Alaska bush wheel font on that one. And now we've got a Cub taking the line, Super Cub. Or is that's a PA-11, I believe. I don't see any flaps. Should be in the sport class. This is race number 71. We'll find more information soon. He may be a rookie. That is a PA-11, I believe. Beautiful airplane.
That's Dan Bishop in a 1947 PA-11 from all the way here from Bettendorf, Iowa.
What's really cool about that airplane is that's actually the airplane that was flown across country in the book. What was the book called? Come on, you got to help me with this.
Flight of Passage.
Flight of Passage. Two brothers have been reading my kids this book. You have to edit a bit for children, but it's a phenomenal book and one of my favorites for sure. Lots of great airplane books out there. And if you guys are watching this live right now, if on Facebook, YouTube, wherever it might be, leave a comment down below with what your favorite flying book is. I have to say,
Flight of Passage is kind of like hard to beat.
Bob Hoover's autobiography, though.
That is good.
Oh.
We just heard from Reese Stockhand with Michael Lindstrom. We have another little interview with him and Cece Pocock. So let's go check that out next.
All right, National STOL fans, Reese Stockhand here with the legendary CC Pocock, just getting fresh out of practice. How was it out there? Conditions of the weather?
Today, oh boy, we're squirrely. Winds all over the place. So it's been a tough practice day, but let's hope tomorrow's better.
How many shots of nitrous and did you use any during practice?
I did. I'm using a 100 horsepower shot of nitrous on takeoff for about 3 seconds.
And how many chances do you get per bottle?
Oh, I can go at least 10 before it goes flat. I've got a bottle heater on it, so when the pressure goes down, I flick a switch and warms the bottle up and get the pressure back up again. So I did probably about 6 practice sessions now, and it's starting to go flat.
When you use the nitrous and you take a competitive edge, but what are the cons of using nitrous, if there are any?
There's a lot of cons if things aren't well tuned up. If you go low on fuel, because I've got a wet system, so I'm injecting nitrous and fuel avgas at the same time past the carburetor. If I ran out of fuel or if something went wrong with the pump or the solenoid, blow the engine straight away because you'd go super lean. So, it's a constant maintenance thing, checking solenoids and jets and filters and stuff like that. I've never had an issue, touch wood. So far, so good.
And you're in the, what's class?
Adventure.
So you're in the adventure class. Who are your main competitors out here?
My main competitors are 2 MOACs here. I'm a Cessna 170. I'm the heaviest kid on the block over here. And these airplanes are a lot lighter and more, nippier than I am. But we'll find out tomorrow.
Definitely. That is CC Pocock and the Bush Air. Ryan, back to you.
Guys, this is going to be a fun one. I know you keep saying Ryan back to you when I start talking, but it's all right.
It's all right. You own it. So you do you, boo. I'm just along for the ride.
Loving seeing these transient aircraft now departing on the cross runway there. I believe that's 27 they're departing from, which is actually what the winds are favoring as our pilots are working their way in. John, beautiful landing. Probably his shortest yet. Nice to see that stickered aircraft just covered up and ready to go. Drew Sizemore saying, I'm a new pilot and I want to do this someday. Drew, the time is now, my friend. Come on out to National STOL. We have events all over the country. Pinedale, Wyoming, Nashville, Tennessee, and then Dallas, Texas. Well, the area, Sulphur Springs, Texas. Looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking earlier with Josh, right, about like the whole rung what you brung thing. If you're a new pilot, the first thing you got to do to be prepared is just get proficient. You got to get proficient on your takeoffs and your landings. That's something you can do anywhere. Pick a line, land on it. Love watching that PA-11 come in there. Got to get a little heavier on the brakes there, but he'll get it figured out before tomorrow. So, Drew, come check it out. I think as long as you're feeling comfortable with your takeoff and landing distances and you're feeling like you can put it down on a spot, right? I think that's all you need. I personally, right, with my busy schedule and stuff, I am not proficient enough when I fly to put it on a line like that to the extent that we need to, right? To the extent that you could be competitive here and to be safe here. That's not me personally right now. So be honest with yourself, put in the practice, go work with an instructor, put in the practice and come out. And we have, I don't know what you fly, if you want to put in the chat what you fly, but we definitely have people coming out in 150s. You saw the J3 Cubby. It's anything, there's a class for everybody.
Class for everybody, and the cool thing is it doesn't take that much work, especially as a new pilot still working on your skills, to start focusing on creating that ideal landing scenario where you are dialed in on the spot because you want to have that skill as a pilot. If you lost an engine and you've got to put it down somewhere. We were telling the story a few events ago, Corey Robin and I flying in Salt Lake City, Utah area, coming across the top of a mountain range, and he asked me, Eric, where would you land? I pointed down below me and I saw a road. He said, no, I practiced for this, and we land on the side of a hill. But I would never have even considered, but because he's practiced so much through STOL competitions and actual backcountry flying, it makes the world a much safer area for him to land in. He can choose basically anywhere and know that his energy management is going to get at that aircraft right where he wants it every single time.
Here's Dan Bishop now in the PA-11. Now, this is part of the rookie class, and this is something new for this season. We saw Finn Bourne in the Aviat Husky, the A1B, that red, white, and blue one, a little bit earlier today. They're going to be joined by Christy Massey in a 2000 Murphy Elite tomorrow, so that'll be exciting to see. Christy is from Nevada, so that's going to be really exciting to have competitors from kind of all over the country competing in rookie class. What rookie class does is just provides a lower competitive environment for people to get integrated into National STOL in a safe way, get them introduced to the kind of saltier older pilots who have a lot more experience, let them learn more and more about how to be safe. Speaking of being safe, I have no idea if this is a proper transition, but Dennis Rowe, Restockhand, interviewing Dennis Rowe, coming at you right now.
Welcome, National STOL fans. We're here with Dennis Rowe and a beautiful Highlander. It sounds mean. Tell us what you got in there.
I've got a Yamaha Apex 4-cylinder, 1,000cc engine, 150 horse, and got a little extra this year. I recently, about 25 hours ago, put in a 1050 big bore, just 2 millimeters over on the cylinders, and we've been flying it a little bit, and we just recently went up to Casey Hawks in Rice Lake, Wisconsin, and put a tune on it now, and got a little more ponies, got about 400 or 500 more RPM than I used to have, and it makes it nice. I can fly and travel with the same prop setting that I compete with now. So it has enough extra horsepower. I don't have to play around with it. I just run what I brung. And we're going to just kind of keep tweaking. Me and Casey are going to keep tweaking the tune until it's perfect. You got a few sputters out here I'm not used to. And when you're pushing the edge, you new things start happening. And so we should be around 160, to 170 horsepower, maybe 170. And that's, to me, that's a sweet spot. How much do you need an 800-pound airplane? And I'm never going to be able to compete with guys like Steve and Jason Bussat and Hal and that, but let them guys, have the big show. But I'd like to have something that can come and acquit itself well. And in your local pond, you're like the biggest dog around. Everybody's like, man, does his plane rip? And you come out here and you say, oh, it's amateur hour for me, But it's fun. I'm just enjoying, this. I'm an old motocross racer, and I've been out of that for so long, decades, and you kind of miss a little bit of competition and the fun of people. Some of your best friends are people you compete with, and just coming out and trying to push your comfort level and grow as a pilot. Get better as a pilot, challenge yourself so you don't stagnate.
That's right. I mean, that's what these competitions are all about. You're progressing as a pilot. You're not stagnating here at short takeoff competition. Thank you so much for chatting with me. Good luck out there.
Thank you so much.
Back to you, Ryan.
All right, so that was Dennis Rowe. I love how he's so humble about it. He's like, it's like totally rips at home, but here, I would be honest, it rips here as well. We are getting kind of close to the wrap-up of our practice session, and now as we look at Hartford, this magical thing happens as the sun starts to set here. You've got the fields in the distance. You've got the grass. The sun's going to get lower and nice golden hour in a little bit. That's just part of the magic of this place. If you want to feel like you've been transported back in time, come here sometime. Fly with the hosts that are helping us put this on, Steve Krogh and all the folks over at the Cub Air Flight School. You're going to fly an old J3 Cub, and if you can do that at sunset in Wisconsin in the middle of the summer with the door open, you're going to get transported to a place of euphoria, pilot euphoria you've never been before. It's totally worth it. Hopefully Steve is hearing me now and will give me some flight credit after I made that little story. But definitely worth seeing.
100% worth the experience. Something new, something different. A lifestyle shift to be transported back in time. Very aggressive there from Miss America.
He heard me say practice is almost over. He's like, I better get a little bit hardcore about it. So, Eric, tomorrow, as we wrap up practice now, tomorrow, currently scheduled to start the broadcast at 10 a.m., start all of the competition through all the classes. We haven't really talked about that. Let's save that for tomorrow because I think it's easier to explain when you see the aircraft neck and neck. But we usually start with touring class, then we head into rookie, backcountry, adventure class, sport class, and then unlimited, where you're going to see Steve Henry. We had Josh, his crew chief, on. Hal Stockman, Jason Bussat are going to that's anything goes as long as it's legal, basically, in unlimited class. So 10 a.m. tomorrow is where we're starting that. We'd love to have you. If you have any questions, make sure you check out nationalstol.com. Make sure you check out National Stol on Facebook, Instagram, all those things. But yeah, it's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a great one. And guys, if you're watching this right now, you enjoyed this stream, please take the time to share this with your friends. I don't care if you're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, Twitter. You guys sharing this gets the word out there and allows us to encourage more people to see how much fun this is and that they can do it too. Thanks so much for watching.
Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time. Welcome, everyone, to Hartford Municipal Airport in beautiful Hartford, Wisconsin. We're just south of the world's largest aviation celebration this weekend, and pilots that have flown from all over the world to Oshkosh are stopping here amongst the Wisconsin corn to compete in National Stol yet again. It's time for Sodbusters. Runway 1836 is 2,231 feet of arguably one of the most beautiful grass strips the circuit will visit this year. Let's meet some of the pilots competing this weekend. CC Pocock.
Welcome back.
Hal Stockman.
I've pitched my slats.
Yeah.
I've just put that cuff on. Yeah, I put a 50 horse nitrous shot on mine too.
You got a 50. Okay, I'm running just over 100.
There you go.
Micah Lindstrom has been talking some smack. He's been flying really well, and I've been giving it everything I got, and I've just fallen short. Truth is Micah, the Dirty Bird is back. I got horsepower. I got lots of horsepower. Now, I'm coming for you. And the wing X, I got that figured out. So, Micah, I'm sorry. I just want to ask you, how does that second, third, fourth place taste, buddy? I'm just curious. I've never had one of those. Tell me.
We did a few mods for this competition, and we're going to try them out. And 205, we've been putting some hours on it. Put about 5,000 miles on it already this year, flying all over the country.
.31-inch Alaska bush wheels, a new mod. Put the Acme Stinger in the tail, and maybe this winter we might do some 3x3 extended gear and put some Behringer brakes on it, so be a little more competitive.
The line is painted, the pattern is clear. It's time for National STOL at Sodbusters.
I got that right turn. We're good. Let's meet up at the compound group up. At 10-4.
Yeah, for sure, dog.
Good. Little driver. Straight on through.
What up, Sandy? Taking my time to bring it in for the recap.
Where history is made.
Up action.
We're cranking up the lights now, so everyone can see. It's all happening right now. We're gonna make you believe. It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to get crazy. It's gonna be loud. This is our house. We do what we wanna. We'll blow the roof off. Everybody's coming. It's about to get crazy. It's about to go down. It's about to go down.
At Aerolids, we believe that innovation is equal parts inspiration and perspiration. Since our inception in 2006, we embarked on a mission to redefine the expectations of aerospace lighting. Entering the aerospace lighting market, which had remained largely unchanged for 50 years and in drastic need of a new product with fresh look and unequaled performance, Aerolids was inspired to redefine the expectations, which resulted in a series of innovative designs. Hungry for new ideas, backed by a company that valued the patronage, customers quickly adopted the new standard of quality, design, and performance never seen before in the industry. Over the past 12 years, Aerolids installation, ranging from the experimental and 23 markets up to the space and military applications with over 15 tactical military platforms featuring products in both overt and covert operations. Arrowheads continues to lead the industry in design, reliability, and unsurpassed performance. Unique in its presence and unmatched in its perseverance, Arrowheads serves the aviation market from one spectrum to the next. From you to you too, Arrowheads is redefining the expectations.
When it's time to recover and paint your fabric-covered aircraft, look no further than AirTech Coatings. Since 1982, our FAA-approved system provides you with a shiny, durable, easy-to-apply product. The AirTech system has fewer steps than any other product on the market today, saving you both time and money. While using cutting-edge technology, we offer a wide range of products. Whether it's for work, play, antique, or aerobatic, we have you covered. Remember, we make paint fly.